Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Became Spider-Man in DC Universe movie. Before we start, please go support Franklin Jr. LeBron for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Naruto is a male. Naruto was bitten by an experimental spider named Zor50, a spider modified to lift 1,000 times its own weight, as well as having more abilities that make him the ultimate Spider-Man. Chapter 1: Naruto the Spider-Man. A group of people in brightly colored suits could be seen discussing a particular topic in a large room. They were the Justice League, summoned by a bartender, who were waiting in a corner of the justice table for everyone to arrive. "What's the reason for this emergency call? I have many obligations to attend to in Atlantis," said the blonde-haired man in a golden scale suit with seaweed green gloves and pants. "This is Aquaman, or better known as Arthur, the King of Atlantis and a joint member of the Justice League." "I agree with Arthur. The Guardians called me 30 minutes ago," said a dark-haired man wearing a green and black suit and a ring on the middle finger of his right hand that shone light green. This was Hal Jordan, a Green Lantern, or better known as the Space Police of the Universe, and a co-founding member of the League. "We just have to wait for Clark to start the meeting," said a man in a black bat suit with a gold belt. "This is Bruce Wayne, or better known as the Bartender, a founding member of the League and the Dark Knight of Gotham City." As he finished saying that, a man in a red and blue suit with an S on his chest flew through the large door of the room. "You're late, Clark," Batman said, his voice giving nothing away, as was typical of him. "I'm sorry. I had more work to do today than usual," replied the man known as Clark Kent, or Superman, taking a seat. Superman is a Kryptonian from the planet Krypton, which was destroyed in a way unknown to most of the galaxy and the universe. "May we know the topic of this meeting?" asked a black-haired woman wearing yellow, red, and blue armor. She was the target of Themyscira, a demigoddess and Amazon of Themyscira Island. "Batman, about this," the Batman replied, throwing a document from a young man masked in a black suit with red details and a black hood. The young man was also saving a young woman from a thief in an alley. "A young man? What's so important about a young man playing at being a hero?" Aquaman asked, uncomprehending. "Batman, he's not just a young man playing hero. This Spider-Man or Spider-Black is a metahuman with several spider-like abilities." "Spider powers? That's the reason for bringing us here," Aquaman said, angry at being called to tell him about a young man who has the powers of a small spider that any human can kill. "Batman, although it may not seem like it, his powers are more lethal than he lets on. He can shoot webs stronger than steel, he can easily lift cars, and he has something resembling a sense that warns him of nearby danger." The table's screen showed the young man jumping through cobwebs, catching a car very easily and then flipping it over, reacting to gunshots without even looking, and at another time dodging a bullet from more than 3,000 meters away without even realizing it. That surprised many in the League. With those things, the young man proved himself to be more than just a street hero. "What happened to all this? You tell us all this about the kid, but not the reason for the meeting." "The reason for this meeting is Clark. This young man has been seen around Metropolis for over 3 years, but I only discovered he existed a month ago," she said, looking at the Superman, who didn't flinch at the stare of the entire room. "Do you have something to say, Clark?" "Why didn't you tell the League about the young man?" asked Hawkgirl, a member of the Justice League. "Superman, the young man only catches thieves, he doesn't cause any harm, and together with his partner they help the city when I'm not there." "Green Lantern partner?" I asked doubtfully. "Yes. He has a partner nicknamed Spider-Gwen or Gosh Spider. She seems to share his abilities, or at least the ones he displayed," Batman replied, earning Superman's glare. "Have you been watching them?" "Batman, unfortunately not. Spider-Man covers both of their identities well. That's why I want you to use your X-ray vision on both of them to reveal their identities and use it against them if they become a danger." "Superman, I tried. Or rather, Supergirl tried, but her X-ray vision is somewhat impaired." "Wonder Woman, right?" "Yes. The part of the eyes and eyebrows are visible to a certain extent. From what you say, the eyebrows are natural blonde and her eyes are red, but they have a slight resemblance to those of a cat or fox," she said, making the league curious. "Green Lantern, the blonde thing is complicated. I mean, over 46% of the city has that trait naturally, but the eyes are something I've never seen before, maybe 2 to 4%. I say without letting it be known that all the information is given to him by his Green Lantern ring. Given his height and muscle mass, he's easily a young man between 18 and 20 years old. That means that if he's not a criminal, he's a student at Metropolis University, which increases the probability of finding him to 89%. Wonder Woman said, smiling because this mess would end immediately. I tried, but in the 2 million citizens of Metropolis, there's no one with blonde hair and red eyes like that, and in the academy of a similar age to what Diana said. Said Batman, showing what on the screen to millions of people. While some go with 1 or 2 traits, none have all 4 traits. Aquaman, and the girl? Her name and features must help. Superman, strangely, his suit has no blind spots. It's as if young Spider-Man left his there on purpose. He said, thinking of the young man who, although he never shows anything, seems to be on guard when he's more than 4 kilometers away. Flash, but the name should be enough, right? I mean, we have a rough age, gender, possible name, and possible college, said the speedster, staring at the screen, occasionally showing the intellect he keeps hidden beneath his bad jokes. Batman, strangely, no one with such characteristics exists either. Gwen is a common name in many places, but in Metropolis there are only 1,000 people, and most are under 3 and under 15, so we have nothing of her either. Flash, why don't you tell Manhunter to read their minds? He said, but made many turn to look at him. It's Batman. I'm just asking because it's strange that he didn't think of it. Not that I agree. The fastest man in the world defended himself. Manhunter, I tried, but it seems their suits also have advanced technology, since they won't let me into their minds. Wonder Woman both? That means they must be allies or know each other. Manhunter, no. Apparently, only Spider-Man knows about that because he looked at me while I tried to look into his mind while Spider-Gwen just looked confused. He said seriously, remembering that the young man stared at him from 8,000 meters, 8 kilometers, away without any doubt or hesitation. Aquaman, I say you keep an eye on him. Supergirl's sort of his partner, isn't she? Then keep an eye on him, said the King of the Seven Seas, normally making them look at him. Superman, we can't. I agree, Batman interrupted Superman, who turned to look at him for his decision. We can't let them do whatever they want, they could be a threat to the future. That's why I'm calling for a vote. Whoever agrees that the boy should be monitored, raise your hand. Batman said, earning 5 hands in the air from Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Batman himself. Batman. Who isn't? He asked, earning 4 hands from Superman, Flash, Manhunter, and Cyborg. It's decided. Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen will be watched by Supergirl. Meanwhile, elsewhere, several robbers could be seen in a black pickup truck followed by police officers. The robbers were seen shooting at the officers in both windows, forcing them to keep their distance. As they swerved around the corner, the truck was punctured by police spikes, causing it to overturn. 3 patrol cars stopped in front of the overturned truck, waiting for the thieves. Come out with your hands on your heads, criminals! You're surrounded! An officer shouted in his loud voice without receiving any response, causing the others to prepare and get ready for anything. Suddenly the truck door was thrown far away by a gust of wind, revealing a large man with a very technological weapon in his hand who with a simple shot launched a large gust of wind that moved the police cars, causing the officers who were behind to have to leave the road. Most of the police officers had been defeated, except for one who was lying on the ground, while one of the criminals wearing something similar to armor had a car in his hands which lashed out at the officer. Before being crushed, the car was caught by a young man wearing a black suit with red details and a hood on the back. I didn't remember cars could fly, the boy joked as he tossed the car to the side to extend his hand to the officer. Thank you, Spider-Man, said the officer, holding the young man's hand to help him get up. Spider-Man, you should go, he said, watching the other thief hold another car. The officer nodded as the thief threw the car at Spider-Man, who shot a web that held the car. You lack the aim to make one. He mocked again as he shot a web at the center of the thief's armor, which he then used to pull him toward him and receive a double kick to the stomach, sending him slamming into the overturned truck. Go! He proclaimed happily as if he were a child. Suddenly Spider-Man felt a tickle in his head, causing his body to react by jumping from a wave of wind ending in what for him was a pose that every superhero had. Looks like you failed. He continued mockingly until an armored robber flew toward the other, colliding heavily with the brick wall. You took too long, he said, looking up at the sky, where he could see a blonde wearing a red and blue suit with an S on her chest. As he finished speaking, another thief with an air gun was thrown wrapped in spider webs, causing the three of them to end up stuck together against the wall, while a girl in a black and white outfit with some pink details fell into the patrol car behind Naruto. Spider-Gwen, I still don't know how you show up so fast. It seems like they're just waiting for this to happen, said the Spider-Girl, seriously wondering if the boy was only interested in crime, without a social life. Spider-Man, I have my tricks, Spider-Girl. He mocked again, but both ignored him because they were already used to the boy's attitude, who was mocking and playful, like a cat, strangely enough. Supergirl, quit the game. Whoever went through all this trouble to bring us together here must be coming, she said, and she wasn't wrong, as a huge man covered in armor and, strangely enough, a horn on his head, attacked Spider-Man, who barely managed to dodge him due to his arachnid instinct. Spider-Gwen, who would have thought that Rhino would be so smart to create a plan like this? Said the young woman, throwing spiderweb against the face of the human rhinoceros, who went blind for a few seconds. There's something strange about all this, he said, kicking Rhino in the back, causing the big man to fall from the strong kick he received. Supergirl, Spider is right, there's no way Rhino could do this alone, she said as her surroundings changed to dark without her knowing, while a green smoke appeared like fog out of nowhere. Spider-Man mystery, he said, looking at the place that obviously has to be an illusion of the fishbowl helmet. As he finished speaking, Spider-Man was hit by a man in a green suit on a hoverboard, while Spider-Gwen was quickly attacked by a man with wings and a metal suit, throwing La out of Supergirl's sight. Supergirl didn't know what was happening. Even with her X-ray vision, she couldn't see through this illusion formed by the mysterious villain. Accepting that she couldn't see, she decided to focus on her other senses, such as hearing, with which she was able to sense that a tentacle was about to fall where she was asking, moving quickly to avoid it. Without any effort, Supergirl took one of the tentacles and then began to move it strongly until it launched against someone who was floating, causing everything around her to return to normal. Spider-Man, you took too long, he said, with an adult in a green suit and goblin helmet underneath him unconscious. On one side of him, Spider-Gwen had another man in equally green clothes swinging down the house tied up by cobwebs. Supergirl, not all of us have something that makes us move automatically, said Supergirl, crossing her arm, annoyed because they always make fun of that. It is true that she has great senses, but no sense can compare to the spider sense. Literally, the spider sense is something like a danger alarm that in some cases makes you move alone to dodge attacks, and if you train enough you can be alerted a few seconds in the future. Spider-Man has already done it several times. I'm you, and I'm looking back, he warned the girl. When she looked back, she saw a man wearing a fishbowl helmet on his head, where nothing could be seen due to something strange that Supergirl had already grown accustomed to. Spider-Man, again, you just can't get enough of losing. This is the 5th time in the last 3 months, he said, frowning at the headache he'd been experiencing these past 3 months. Mystery, and so it will continue. I will make you suffer everything I suffered, he said with hatred in his voice, making Spider-Man's eyes turn white, but it wasn't noticeable because of the mask. Spider-Man, it was for a job over 8 months ago, he shouted angrily at the stupidity of this madman. It wasn't just a job. I was going to be the owner of Stark Enterprises. But because of your intervention, I lost everything, he said with hatred to the Spider-Boy, who only sighed. Spider-Man, it's not my fault that Tony Stark chose me, okay? 8 months ago I was thinking of giving it to you because I didn't care, but seeing what you've become and what you would do with it, I think it would be a grave mistake, he said, then launched himself at Mystery, who dodged him, flying to the side, letting him pass. Without losing height, Spider-Man launched a spider web to swing towards Mystery, who was not expecting this, receiving a kick in the back. Without expecting it, Spider-Man launched 2 spider webs at Mystery's back as he fell, pulling him down and receiving them with a strong kick in the back. He used his webs to throw Mystery into the sky, where with another tug he came back to where he was, which he used to slam Mystery into the ground, making a crater the size of a truck. "Spider-Man, easy as your girlfriend," said another joke that made his companions sweat a drop at such bad humor. The 3 young heroes sat waiting for the police while Spider-Man strung the 5 supervillains back-to-back on a web. "Spider-Man, looks like they've arrived," he said, putting away the cards he used to play with Spider-Gwen and Supergirl while the officers arrived. "Spider-Gwen, whose turn was it?" the Spider-Girl asked her coworkers and almost friends. "Spider-Man, Supergirl," he replied, shooting a web, leaving both girls behind. Supergirl looked at Spider-Gwen, who shrugged and shot a web to follow Spider-Man, leaving Supergirl annoyed at having to deal with the police. "Supergirl, I'll get paid for it," the girl shouted angrily as an officer approached her to ask for information. In the distance was Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen. "Spider-Gwen, is it really her turn?" I asked, laughing because I heard Supergirl scream. "Spider-Man, no, but if you don't remember, that's okay," he said, running along the top of a building and then jumping backwards. "Wow!" he shouted happily as he jumped, doing a pirouette next to Spider-Gwen, who opened her arms, revealing some cobwebs that they used as a glider. Before reaching the floor, both of them threw another web that remained like an X and then began to spin over and over again, causing both of them to end up upside down very close together at the end of the knot woven in 2. "Spider-Man, if you're so cute with a mask, I wonder what you'd look like without it," he said playfully, making Spider-Gwen blush, but thanks to her mask, it couldn't be seen. "Keep dreaming," he said, looking to the side, causing Spider-Man to turn his face towards him again. "We've been fighting crime together for 3 years, and I'm still not worthy of knowing your identity?" he asked, staring at Spider-Gwen. "Spider-Gwen, that'll put you in danger." "Spider-Man, my own life as a hero already puts me in a high level of danger," he said as Spider-Gwen lifted the bottom of the Spider-Man mask, revealing lips with animal-like inverted commas that protruded easily from his mouth. "Spider-Gwen, give me time. Please," she said, lowering her own mask to kiss Spider-Man, still in that same position without worrying about anyone since they were at a height of 120 meters from the ground. No common human's sight should be able to see what they do with precision. Chapter 2: Naruto the Spider-Man. The next day, we find ourselves in a large tower. This tower is Stark Tower, the former company of the late genius, billionaire, philanthropist, and playboy Tony Stark, former owner of Stark Enterprises, one of the richest companies, making Mr. Stark the richest man in the world for a long time. Second only to Wayne Riches and 4 steps behind Luther Enterprises. Inside Tony Tower is a young blonde man with blue eyes and 3 marks on his cheeks, resembling a cat or a fox. The young man was running around the company. Why? Well, he was about to be late to the most prestigious university in the city, and one of the best in the world. "And May, why are you making such a fuss?" asked a 30-year-old woman, looking at the young man who was finishing what he was preparing. Naruto Uzumaki Parker, son of Minato Parker and Kushina Uzumaki and nephew of Aunt May. He is a blond young man with blue eyes and 3 whisker marks on his cheeks like a fox. In his left eyebrow, he had a piercing, which was normal for young people these days. "Naruto, I'm late," said the young man, jumping down the stairs, landing at the bottom where he grabbed his backpack and left the house on top of the company to take the elevator. Upon reaching the top floor, Naruto quickly exited the elevator but collided with a silver-haired girl who fell to the floor. "Naruto, I'm sorry, Mari," said the Uzumaki to lift the girl and continue running. This girl was Harem Stark, eldest daughter of the late Tony Stark and Pepper Stark. The girl was silver-haired with bright crystalline gray eyes and a shy smile to a certain point. Mari just stared at the blonde in the same place. Meanwhile, the Uzumaki walked out to the company parking lot next to the building. Upon arriving, he hopped on a black motorcycle with blue lights and details, which he rode off in the direction of the university. Later, The young Uzumaki could be seen with his friends, Gwen Stacy and Kara Kent, the three Ivans, leaving the university, until the school alarm was heard warning of some danger. That sound put the entire university at war, everyone running wild like crazy. "Really?" said the Uzumaki, "since this is the third time this month that the school has been attacked by someone." "Gwen, get out of here and stop complaining," said the blonde girl, leaving the academy with Kara leaving the Uzumaki, who, when checking that no one was watching him, opened his white shirt, an orange jacket showing a spider-shaped device on his chest. The Uzumaki quickly touched the device twice, causing it to slowly soar, creating a cloth suit that appeared out of nowhere, covering the Uzumaki in the Spider-Man suit, until T reached Naruto's head and removed both piercings, causing his blue eyes to transform into two crimson circles. At that exact moment, a large humanoid lizard smashed the wall and, upon seeing Spider-Man, launched itself at him, destroying the wall behind him and ending up in the chemistry room with our spider friend, who didn't flinch much at the blow. "Spider-Man, I'm starting to hate green," he said as he took a green serum and a red one and threw them on the hold, causing a viscous liquid to form, trapping the lizard. "Spider-Man, yesterday your friends were locked up. Why don't you help them instead of start doing this?" he asked while hitting him, paraphrasing him to go through the chemistry room to get out into the academy courtyard. "Lizard, that's none of your business," he said, hopping out of the back seat and heading. "That's all route at the front," he said in surprise. "Because that's where all the students are." He quickly threw a web to follow the villain, who was in front of the door, blocking the way for the young people. Spider-Man stood in front of her, looking at her seriously. "Leave the kids alone. It's not their fault you're skipping school," he said, another joke, but with a touch of seriousness. Because in the crowd was a red-haired girl he knew very well. Spider-Man, Mary Yen, he thought when he saw his friend among the animals' hostages. Spider-Gwen, Supergirl, come quickly. With Spider-Gwen. Gwen Stacy could be seen running through the streets until she reached an alley where she opened her shirt, revealing the sign of a pink spider. Opening her backpack, Gwen took out the Spider-Gwen mask. Putting it on, she put her other clothes inside the backpack that she hooked on the top of the alley without her web, and then went out swinging on her web. With Supergirl. Kara Kent could be seen running around the crowd as she carelessly ran off at a high speed, faster than a human, even leaving her glasses in the air. Supergirl quickly returned holding the glasses that she left in the air, and then put them away and flew away at high speed. With Spider-Man. Spider-Man could be seen being strongly electrocuted by a man made of pure electricity, while the lizard man looked at him maliciously without having a car in his hands. "Spider-Man, you're tickling me," he said forcibly, trying to hold back the electro-energy with all his willpower. He had to endure millions of volts passing through his body. The lizard was about to hit Spider-Man with the vehicle but was caught by a blur of blue and red. "Suppy, you're finally here," said Spider-Man as if he wasn't currently experiencing thousands of volts in his body. "You're an idiot," Supergirl said angrily, shooting a heat ray from her eyes at Elect, who was forced to let go of Spider-Man. "Spider-Man. And why so aggressive?" he asked doubtfully. He didn't remember bothering her the day before. At that moment, Spider-Gwen fell to the side of Spider-Man, who was just sober. "Spider-Man, you guys should get your act together. Leaving me alone for so long isn't right," he joked, earning a seal from Spider-Gwen. "Shut up," he said, seeing that the Kryptonian was angry with his friend/love interest/crime fighting buddy. "Spider-Gwen, what did you do?" "Nothing. When I arrived, it was already like that," he replied, looking at Supergirl, who was literally massacring the lizard while Electro was frozen by Supergirl's icy breath. "Spider-Man, it's your turn to stay with the cops," I said, still staring at Supergirl, surprising Spider-Gwen. "But it's your turn." No, my dear little spider. Our friend Supergirl did me the favor of taking my turn yesterday, so today it's your turn." "I hate you." "Yes. And I didn't like the kiss yesterday," he mocked, blushing again at the young woman, which struck him. In the distance, Supergirl could be seen watching their interaction, angrily. Since she met the young man with red eyes, she literally fell in love at first sight. The young man was everything she wanted, loving, playful, has a particular sense of humor, is also a joker and always tries to get along with anyone, but the most important thing is that he can take a hit from her. As a Kryptonian, her body was invulnerable and that didn't allow her to be with any boy in any relationship. A slight movement from her and she would destroy her lover. That's why she wasn't in a relationship with anyone. She didn't want to hurt anyone, but the possibly blonde could stand being with her. Besides, he was like the perfect boyfriend. But his plans have been interrupted by his friend Spider-Gwen, who has been very close to the young man for 8 months. She never thought that she and the blonde were together until yesterday, when with her telespheric vision she managed to see him 5 kilometers, 5,000 meters, away. Supergirl flew off without saying anything, leaving both spiders behind. Spider-Man was the only one who noticed his friend Kara's departure, leaving both villains frozen before leaving. "I'll be back in a few," he said, reaching out to throw a web at the nearest building, which then pulled him away from the girl. Spider-Gwen waved goodbye to him, which he imitated with a wink that his costume strangely imitated. No longer seeing Spider-Gwen, he decided to focus his 10,000-meter, telescopic vision to search for Supergirl, who was flying ahead at a distance of 25 meters, which was no challenge. He quickly accelerated the swing to reach Supergirl's side, who, if she noticed him, ignored him. "Spider-Man, it's rude to leave without warning." "I didn't fit in at that time either." Naruto raised an eyebrow. Why would she think he didn't fit in with them? Although their identities haven't been revealed, he can safely say he'd give his life for any of his companions, and he knew they would do the same for him. "Spider-Man, what do you mean?" "Supergirl, you know what, forget it," she said as she began to accelerate her flight, leaving Spider-Man behind. Mach 4.5 flight. "It's too much for me," he thought as he tried to get closer to Supergirl by increasing his web shooting speed, but even so he couldn't reach the Supergirl, who had no plans of stopping. Spider-Man sighed at what he was going to do. He placed his right hand to touch his left, quickly switching hands to touch his right arm with his left. As he did this, the web shot out at a high speed, causing him to get closer and closer to the Kryptonian, who turned to look at him angrily. "Stop following me. Not until you tell me what's going on with you. You barely arrived and you were already acting like this," he said. They'd been moving around the city by the second. The trail of cobwebs unraveling was noticeable. Even Spider-Man could see some cobwebs from a while ago, and these types of webs only last 20 seconds before disappearing completely. "Spider-Man, at this rate we'll fill the city with cobwebs," he thought with a drop of sweat. He wouldn't get tired for a while, and since his webs are created on his body, he has no limits until he gets tired, like I won't get through very soon. "I really didn't think I'd try this now," he said, letting go of the web, causing Supergirl to turn her gaze slightly. When Supergirl saw this, she was scared because the boy didn't launch another free dive with his eyes closed. Supergirl flew at high speed to catch Spider-Man, but due to the delay she had, she would not arrive in time. "Supergirl, Spider-Man," she called worriedly, watching him get closer and closer to the ground. A few millimeters before hitting the ground, Spider-Man began to float, surprising Supergirl, but also making her happy because her friend was saved. Supergirl slowly finished descending, ending up next to Spider-Man, who still had his eyes closed. "Spider-Man, if I'm not dead, it means it worked," he said, being hugged by Supergirl. When the blonde calmed down, she released the hug and then ended up slamming him hard into the ground. "Because you did that," she said angrily, looking at Spider-Man, who was stroking his head in pain. "Spider-Man, I was testing something." "What's so important that you should throw yourself to your death?" she said, angrily at putting herself in danger just to prove something. "Spider-Man, flying is a very important thing," he said, beginning to float again, surprising Supergirl. She didn't realize what was flying because she was so happy to see him safe. "But how?" "It's one of my powers," he said, beginning to float uncontrollably, ending up upside down, but was caught by Supergirl before he could go any higher. "Supergirl, you should control how you fly." "Spider-Man, I'm not flying, I'm floating," he replied, grabbing Supergirl's hand to make sure he wasn't floating uncontrollably. "What's different about them?" "Spider-Man, they're literally different. while flying is scientifically explained as birds fly because they have wings, or airplanes fly because of their turbines and other things. But floating is literally rejecting physics. It's changing the gravity in your body, like changing the gravity of the Earth to that of the Moon or Pluto. He responded like a know-it-all, making Supergirl's sweat drop. Supergirl, sounds like the answer is being given to me by Google, she thought with a drop of relief at the boy's tense explanation. Spider-Man, well, since you decided to stop, will you tell me why you're angry? I already told you it's nothing, she said, turning her face away like a child, causing Spider-Man to have a fit. I chased you all over town to find out what's keeping you like this. And you tell me nothing. Is that serious? Supergirl blushed at that. She really used a scandal for being upset with the blonde. When her cousin arrives, she will give him a lecture for all the noise he made flying through the city at such high speed. It's nothing important, just a tantrum, she said, covering her mouth with her hair in embarrassment at the moment. Naruto only fell for the response he received. He circled Metropolis 3 times in less than a few minutes, simply for nothing important. Spider-Man, luckily I used webs, they don't last long, he thought with relief. His webs won't last long enough for them to worry about cleaning them up. Spider-Man, I'll believe it's nothing, but if you have any problems just call me, your old and trusty friend Spider-Man is here to help. He recited his motto with a smile and then swinged with his web, leaving the Supergirl blushing and smiling at his words. Supergirl covered her face with her hair, blushing profusely at the sight of her crime-fighting partner and friend/love interest. Why do I like him so much? She thought, blushing, flying off at a slower speed, leaving the room empty. With Spider-Man. Spider-Man is swinging normally in the direction of Spider-Gwen, who was waiting for him on the roof near the place where he left her. Luckily, the police had already left, taking out the villains who attacked today. He landed next to the girl and gave his friends/lovers a hug. Spider-Gwen. What did she have? The girl asked, grabbing Spider-Man's arms affectionately. Spider-Man sighed because not even he knew exactly what Supergirl had. Honestly, I don't know. It's been like this since he arrived, and now he hasn't said anything to me, but it seems like it's just something from yesterday. Spider-Gwen. Do you think she saw that? I asked doubtfully. They didn't really try to hide anything, and Supergirl's vision ranged from 4 to 7 kilometers, while they were only about 100 meters above the ground. Spider-Man, now that I think about it, it makes sense, he said, remembering that although he wasn't really focused, he felt someone about 3 kilometers away from them, but since the person left instantly, he didn't give it any importance. Spider-Man, but that still doesn't say anything. Why would she be jealous of seeing us kissing? Spider-Gwen, you're kidding, no? She literally spends the entire day staring at you, and when we go out on casual surveillance, she's always with you. She doesn't leave your side unless it's to fight. Wait. He's saying that Supergirl is. Yes, she's in love with you, he said, surprising Naruto because for him that was the last option, or rather, it wasn't even an option in his possibilities of reasons for Supergirl's anger. This is shocking, he said, surprised because knowing that a girl is in love with you is something that a boy doesn't digest quickly. What should I do? I mean, I'm dating you, in quotes. He joked a little, making a quotation mark with his fingers. Spider-Gwen, even if I don't like her, you can talk to her and suggest that she be with you. Basically, you can be with both of them if she agrees, he said, seeing that Spider-Man didn't understand clearly. After he stopped thinking about all that, he was amazed. He could basically be with Spider-Gwen and Supergirl. You're not joking, right? No. If she agrees to be with you, I will too. Thank you, he said, lifting his mask a little, just like Spider-Gwen, to give each other another kiss like the day before, but this time on top of a building and not hanging from a web like 2 spiders. He was about to do what everyone knows. Spider-Man, we shouldn't go. I mean, today's our turn to be on guard duty, he said to his girlfriend, still hugging her as they sat on the shore. Spider-Gwen's eyes widened. Besides being on guard duty, today was also her mom's birthday. Spider-Gwen, I'm sorry, but today is the birthday of someone very important to me. I don't think I can make it. Spider-Man, now that you mention it, I also have an event to attend tonight, he said, remembering Gwen's mother's birthday. He and Kara would be among the few to attend. Aunt May must be waiting for me, he thought, alert for what would happen to him. You should tell Supergirl that we can't go today. That won't be necessary, he said, feeling his cell phone vibrate. Upon taking it out, he saw a call from Supergirl, which he answered. Hey, the trusty and friendly Spider-Man is speaking. Who's on that end? Supergirl, you know who I am, idiot. Oh. What's this call about, my lady? He said in his playful, cat-like voice. Sometimes I think he was bitten by a spider with cat blood, she thought with a twinge of relief at her lover's attitude, which was at times as cunning and deceitful as a fox, and also as silent, seductive, and playful as a cat. I wanted to tell you that I won't be able to keep watch with you today. I have a special matter to attend to tonight. I called you for the same reason. Spider-Gwen and I have important things to do outside the mask, and we can't keep watch either. He winked at Spider-Gwen, who just shook her head with a smile, a complete idiot. Supergirl, who would have thought it? It doesn't matter. I'll tell my cousin to keep an eye on us. Okay. Well, see you tomorrow, and I'll be looking forward to it, he concluded, his seductive voice making her unconscious. Spider-Gwen, I think that's why he fell in love with you, said Ichigo with the tone that Naruto spoke, that would literally turn on any teenager in their horny days. Really? Which one is it? Forget it, the young Anra woman replied, curious to see how seductive Naruto was one moment and then innocently like a child the next. Naruto became even more curious about what her friend said. Did she find out and not want to tell him, or did she find out and just got confused? I better go, they're waiting for me, he said before giving his lovers a quick kiss and then swinging through the buildings, leaving Spider-Gwen on the building, who imitated his action. In a few minutes he reached the Stark building to jump on top and press his spider fly, making his suit disappear, leaving only the clothes he had this morning. Uzumaki Naruto entered his house to leave his backpack on the table as if nothing had happened. The Uzumaki quickly threw himself out of his room and into the living room, seeing no one, walking towards the bathroom to go in and take a bath. Upon leaving the bathroom, Naruto entered her room, asking to see a gift with a letter. Sorry, Naruto, I won't be able to go to Helen's birthday with you, so I left you the gift and went out to do some business. He quickly read the note and then shrugged. The birthday was going to be a teenage riot after George Stacy took his wife out to dinner. At least I won't have to deal with her when I'm drunk, he thought faintly, remembering how drunk his aunt got. The Uzumaki started getting ready to put on some fashionable clothes, then placed his cell phone on the phone stand and then started taking a picture of Naruto. Perfect, he said, looking at his beautiful photo. Leaving the game, he jumped back down the stairs with the gift in his hand to head toward the elevator, which took him to the bottom of the Stark building. Don't sleep late, he said to his gray-haired friend who was just essential watching her favorite series. When leaving, Naruto pressed 2 buttons placing security on the entire building, and knowing that only Harem was inside, he left, leaving the girl. Only he, Aunt May and Harem knew the password for each part of the building. Noticing that everyone was sleeping, he activated his suit to go shooting spider webs swinging through the city at night, and thanks to the color he was not easily seen. Spider-Man arrived at his friend's house in a moment, falling in the back to deactivate his suit and enter the house with a smile. An after party. We're leaving now. Don't leave a mess at home, said Gwen's birthday girl, her mother in a red dress, standing next to her husband, who was wearing a black suit. Don't worry, Mr. Stacy. We'll be fine, Naruto said, standing next to Gwen, Kara, and Mary Jens. The others were inside, waiting for the parents to leave. I trust you, Naruto. I'm leaving these kids in your hands, George said, finishing up his walk with his wife, leaving the teenagers alone. Seeing that both adults had left, Naruto and the others entered the house where 4 more were waiting for him with bottles of drinks. Naruto, enjoy, he said, and at that moment the madness began inside Gwen's house. Kara could be seen sitting while the others danced happily. She didn't really like alcohol much, especially since her adoptive family didn't teach her those lessons. Suddenly, Naruto sat next to Kara, who became even because he didn't wait. Naruto, you're very boring, Kara, Naruto said, putting his head on the young woman's lap while smiling at Kara like a fox. The boy was obviously drunk, just like everyone else. You know, you're very beautiful. If I didn't see you as my best friend, I'd ask you to be my girlfriend, he said, smiling with a blush on his face. His words made the young woman blush to an extreme degree. What are you saying, Naruto? I like Spider-Man, she told herself, trying to deceive herself. She knew she liked them both because they were almost identical in attitude, except the blonde was a normal human who couldn't be with her because of his superpowers. But even if they both could accept being with her, she wouldn't know who to choose because they were both her type. You look a lot like Supergirl, and I've seen her up close, she said, making Kara stunned. It can't be that he had discovered her. He had made sure not to get close to any of her class for a long time because they might notice. Why don't we dance? He asked, standing up and reaching out to Kara, who accepted the proposal to start dancing with her friend. Suddenly, Naruto was pulled by the back by his friend Mary Jens, who hugged him tightly to dance with him. Do you like it? I can do more of what you like, she said seductively, blushing at Naruto. He and Mary Jens had a relationship before, but because of his work as Spider-Man, they had to separate, since Naruto couldn't attend many of her important moments. Naruto, unable to resist any longer, kissed Mary Jens deeply, grabbing her by the waist at the same time that Mary Jens placed her hands on the blonde's neck. All this while Kara watched the kiss hurt. She doesn't know why, but she feels that this kiss not only takes away one of her love interests. Entering her hand, she separates from Mary Jens, slowly walking away. I'm sorry, but we know it won't work, she said, walking away, leaving the girl sad. Mary Jens knew it was her fault, since even knowing about Naruto's existential problems, she decided to leave him instead of supporting him. I'm sorry, he said, disappearing back into the room with the others, leaving Kara strangely relieved to see what Naruto had done. At least he won't drink anymore. Kara was sad, thinking that Naruto would stop drinking because of the argument with Mary Jens. The next day. Really? In front of Kara, all the students were lying unconscious on the couch. The clock showed only 20 minutes until Gwen's parents returned, and the house was a mess. Only the two adults' rooms were clean. After that, the whole house was a mess. Thanks to Rao, who had his super speed, and in less than 20 seconds it was all over, except for Naruto's glass of alcohol, which he wouldn't let go of. Let it go, she thought, trying not to use her superhuman strength to avoid hurting Naruto. When the blonde finally let go of the drink, he grabbed the girl by the waist and then sat her on his lap and hugged her in that position. Really? She said, thinking about getting up, but when she felt how comfortable, she decided to simply melt the drink to sleep next to the blonde. -10 minutes and that's it, she thought, hugging the blonde and settling into the boy's chest. Chapter 3: Naruto the Spider-Man. Later. Naruto, Gwen, and Kara could be seen hanging out in the blonde's room at the house. Is this the only one? I've noticed that this is the first time we've come to your house. Now that you mention it, it's true. This is the first time I've come to Mr. Stark's old house, said Kara, remembering that fact. Naruto, well, a year ago this belonged to Uncle Stark, he said, remembering how he met billionaire Tony Stark and how thanks to him he met his aunt, and then they both fell in love. What can we do? He asked, face down on a bar, holding on with his feet, which easily achieved their goal. We can play like we did when we were little. And you know, hide and seek. When the girl said that, she made both young men turn to look at her as if she had lost her mind and gained 2 more. Why are you looking at me like that? Naruto, well, you always say we should make prank calls or throw things at strangers, Naruto said, making Kara scratch her head. She would have proposed any of those, but she already had enough complaints from her adoptive parents and Clark. It seems they discovered where the calls were coming from and who was throwing the eggs outside the school. Gwen, your cousin scolded you, she said with a drop of sweat because her friend's face reflected every word she was thinking. Yes. And they barely let me go to your party because it was a birthday, she said while crossing her arms in anger. She loved her parents, but not letting her drink alcohol at 19 years old was exaggeratedly protective. Gwen, now that you mention the party, do you know why Mary Jens came out crying? Naruto fell silent at the question, and Kara frowned, remembering the kiss the girl had given Naruto. She asked me to come back. It seemed like she'd had too much to drink. And from your reaction, I guess you didn't accept. Naruto shook his head. I loved her, but there were and still are things that wouldn't allow us to be together, he said, recalling all the events he ruined for his ex-girlfriend because of his job. Her 16th birthday, her job as a waitress, her job as a lawyer, and more that are all his fault. At that moment, Kara's cell phone rang the ringtone, causing Naruto, who was in his previous position, to fall back. It's my cousin, he said, answering the phone with a smile as he spoke to his family. Suddenly Kara frowned, which made Naruto and Gwen curious. Something wrong? The blonde asked. Kara, my cousin wants me to talk to a friend, she said without much enthusiasm in her voice. Naruto, don't worry. We'll wait for you here, he said, stepping down from the bar and smiling. Kara, it's okay. She smiled as she walked down the stairs, disappearing from the sight of both boys. Maybe that friend isn't so friendly. Gwen, really? But it turned out perfect. We'd better get started, the blonde man said, skipping away, leaving Gwen to count. The young woman sat there, counting in her head while she paid attention to anything else that interested her. Upon reaching his goal, he stopped to look for the blonde who, from what he noticed, didn't use the elevator, so he must be somewhere in this room. With Naruto. The blonde could be seen glued to the ceiling above his friend Gwen, who seemed not to notice him. Smiling, Naruto touched his chest where he had his robotic spider symbol, causing his suit to cover his body, only leaving his head where he removed the piercing, causing his eyes to turn feline red and his fangs to grow to an animal level, or those of a vampire. Ready, Naruto dropped with a spider web, ending up in front of his friend. Hello? Ah. Don't do that, she shouted angrily at the huge scare her friend gave her. Why didn't my spider sense warn me about him? She thought doubtfully, not noticing her friend's clothing and position. Gwen, why are you dressed like that? Are you cosplaying now? The blonde mocked, taking a drop from the redhead. Naruto, I have a Spider-Man suit, red eyes with canine fangs, and the first thing that comes to mind is that I'm doing cosplay. Yeah. He laughed at his friend's foolish expression. I had my suspicions you were Spider-Man. Naruto, seriously. But how? Gwen, it's easy. When you wore your glasses, your eyes could be seen sometimes, or when you cleaned them, even if you closed your eyes, your fangs stuck out for a few seconds, she said, making Naruto sweat a drop. Naruto, thanks for throwing all my youthful mistakes in my face, he said, approaching the blonde to kiss her, making her surprised by the sudden kiss. Why was that? She said, blushing at her friend's gesture. Naruto, I wanted to kiss you, Spider. With that, the blonde man kissed his now revealed partner in crime fighting again, who was in turmoil. Her boyfriend discovered her secret identity. Gwen, how did you find out? She asked with great doubt and a little astonishment. She had already planned to tell him her identity, but knowing that he had found out already amazed her. Only Supergirl and Ghost Spider knew about my eyes and fangs, he said, smirking while Gwen blushed because that fact was clearly obvious. Gwen, wait. Ghost Spider? Naruto, yes. That's what the fans call you and my Black Spider, he said, remembering the time he spoke to some children and they called him by that name. Gwen, well, it makes sense, actually. Before we teamed up, I would appear and disappear like a ghost, and you only appeared at night, and with your black suit, that didn't help either, she said, remembering the times he helped and the times she saw Naruto talked about on TV. Naruto, it's strange to know that the one responsible for our union was the Green Goblin. Yeah. The madman filled the city with his madness gas. Literally, everyone turned green with super strength and immunity to our spider sense, he said, remembering the headache that Goblin gave them. Back to the main topic. Because you told me about your identity, that could put me in danger. Naruto, you could say that based on our relationship, The reason I broke up with Mary Jens was because she didn't know he was Spider-Man, and for her it was that she simply didn't care. I didn't want the same thing to happen to our and Kara's friendship. Gwen, I understand you. I also felt bad lying every time we met, and because of some robbery or crime I had to cancel and leave them stranded. So what are you going to do with Kara? Naruto, I plan to reveal it to her in a better way, something more extravagant. He smiled, thinking about what he could do. Stopping thinking, he kissed his girlfriend again for pleasure, but at that moment, a voice was heard. Kara, Naruto. Moments before, in another place. I already said no, Supergirl replied, looking at Batman, who had been insisting for a while that she should keep an eye on her teammates. Aqualad, you have no choice, it's a league order, said the fishman. Supergirl, I'm not part of the league. They have no power over me. She crossed her shoulders in annoyance. She'd been at this for a few minutes. Batman, if you want to become part of the league one day you must do this. And I said no, and you're not going to convince me, he said, flying off in the direction of Earth from the Justice League space station. Batman just stood there, not making a move, while Superman, Aqualad, and Cyborg stayed by his side. Superman, I told you I wouldn't accept. You'd better get them to watch you, or else I'll have to do it myself, said the Batman, retreating from the room, leaving the three men standing there. Is this right? Cyborg asked, looking at the Superman who was still looking at the Earth from the space station. Superman, I hope so. Victor the First hopes so, finished the Man of Steel as he flew out of the League satellite, leaving the Sea King and the Man of Technology behind. Supergirl, who does she think she is, blackmailing me into joining the League? She thought angrily, flying at high speed. In a few seconds she would reach the Stark building where her friends were. Before arriving, Supergirl quickly changed her clothes to the same ones she had before. When she arrived, she entered through the terrace, and when she went down, she saw Naruto upside down in the Spider-Man suit kissing Gwen, and she accepted it. Kara, Naruto. Naruto. And so the whole plan to reveal my identity went down the drain. Hey Kara, she said, stopping kissing the blonde to smile at her friend, who looked shocked and angry. Fash H. I told you I liked it, proclaimed Kara angrily, who was the cause of such a wave of wind with a punch that Gwen was able to dodge with her spider sense, which did all the work. Naruto, who was sent flying into a wall by the wind wave, was surprised by Kara's strength. That speed and strength! The spider couldn't think or see that a massive punch had collided with the ladder, destroying it completely. When Aunt May sees this, she'll punish me. Leaving aside the nonsense, Naruto jumped to help his friend, touching the ISO symbol twice so that his Spider-Man suit changed to a metallic one with red stripes and in the center his spider symbol, but this time it had a giant S inside the spider. Note: imagine the spider around the S of hope. End of note. Naruto quickly launched himself at Kara, who looked very angry. It really seemed like she was going to kill the blonde. What thanks to his spider sense and flexibility he managed to move away, or in some cases block the blows from the furious face. The blonde managed with his bravery to pull the girl off the property, but even so the girl seemed angry, reaching a strong red color on the skin and bright eyes. In seconds the blonde managed to get the girl out of the city, crashing into a clearing where a few meters away there was a road. Kara, calm down, he tried to say, but he had to dodge heat rays from the girl who seemed out of control. At this point, her anger could easily be compared to a red lantern. The Uzumaki just sighed and then launched himself at Kara. He had the advantage in combat because the blonde didn't seem to have many martial arts. There were at least 10, while he had more than 209 arts that he had learned from his work as Spider-Man. He couldn't use his full strength, or he would kill them, so he always reduced it, and that made him a normal person, so he learned many arts and adapted them to his spider abilities. In a swift movement the Uzumaki managed to grab Kara in a key, making it impossible for her to get out. With very equal forces, and Kara, without any knowledge about judo, gave the blonde every chance to contain her until the girl fainted. Or that was the plan, since suddenly the girl launched a flame of ice from her mouth, creating a giant sphere of ice over both of them that would hit them. This is getting harder than I thought, the exhausted blonde thought. He was powering the armor with his own energy, since he still hadn't been able to connect a way to power the armor with solar radiation, so he had to power it with his own energy. With no other option, the blonde did a double somersault back while touching his symbol, causing the Superman copy armor to disappear, leaving a black armor with a larger than normal bright green spider. "Naruto, fine, 2 accurate hits and this will end," he said, sighing calmly, seeing Kara angry looking at him with pure hatred, but at the same time a strong mental loss. Without noticing this, the blonde jumped to the attack, as well as the blonde colliding in the center holding hands. Without giving rest, Naruto headbutt and then punched him in the face and went after him, but he was quickly followed by Kara, who got in his way, making Naruto get serious. In an agile movement, Naruto dodged some rays from Kara's eyes facing him without any difficulty thanks to his super sense that alerted him of a punch to his back, allowing him to move in time. Came. XD no. Naruto effortlessly pulled out a scalpel the same color as his armor. With the kryptonite scalpel in his hands, Naruto launched himself at Kara, somersaulting at the last second. Naruto landed on the young woman's exposed back, managing to land a direct cut on her neck. A yellow crystal fell from the young woman's neck, causing her to faint, her skin and eyes returning to normal. Seeing that his friend was already out of the effects of the red stone, the Uzumaki fell to the ground, spitting blood. Wearing 2 incomplete suits of armor that fed on his own life energy, which his own creation through nanotechnology was made of, left him exhausted. Noticing that someone was coming, he touched his chest, removing his green armor and creating his spider mask to cover his identity. He left the mask up to his nose in case he needed to spit again. At that moment, the Justice League arrived and saw Spider-Man lying down, breathing deeply, while an unconscious Kara Kent was lying next to him. Superman quickly approached his cousin to check on her condition, followed by the others, while Batman approached Spider-Man. "Batman, what happened here?" "Spider-Man, I should ask that," he said as he slowly stood up. Meanwhile, Spider-Gwen arrived at his side, falling easily. "Batman, what happened to the girl and why is everything destroyed?" "Spider-Man, don't act like you don't know her, you know by looking at that girl is Supergirl," he said, looking at the Batman, who was not fazed by the accusation. "It seems that someone put that tin material on Kara's neck. I don't know what it is, but it makes her lose control and be consumed by anger," he said, making Superman approach the small rock, touching it. Instantly a great anger consumed his body, causing him to move away in surprise. It was as if he only thought about killing or revenge. "Superman, this stuff is very similar to red kryptonite, but it has something else," he said as he and his cousin walked away from the stuff. Batman approached the material to look at it, and when he touched it, he didn't feel anything special. It looked like a common red rock. "It has no effect on humans, nor on Amazons and Atlanteans," he said when he saw that Aqualad and Wonder Woman touched him without feeling anything different in them. "I touched it and nothing happened, so it doesn't affect metahumans either." "Batman, maybe it's some experimental kryptonite." "Spider-Gwen, created so that Kryptonians would lose control and attack in anger? Who was the crazy one?" she said with surprise. Making beings as powerful as Kryptonians lose control and attack everyone was really crazy. "Batman, from a common perspective, if they managed to stop them from destroying everything, they would be accused even though it is known that they are being controlled, and Spider-Man, the government will seize them and secretly manipulate or clone them to make them loyal to them for whatever plan they want," he finished, earning a frown from Batman. Amanda Waller. The Dark Knight thought, knowing exactly what that woman had to do with this. She never liked metahumans or aliens because they made her feel inferior, so she always tried to kill them or kidnap him to take him as her faithful dog. "Spider-Man, if you'll excuse me, I have to go. I broke 3 ribs and lost a kidney." Saying that, he earned the League's stare, as if he were alive. "You're joking, no? No one would be left alive from something like that," he couldn't finish as the Anra boy spat blood falling to the floor. "Are you okay?" Spider-Gwen asked, watching Naruto wipe his mouth. "Yeah, I just need a break." He slowly stood up to lower his mask and shoot a web, followed by Spider-Gwen, leaving the team with the unconscious young woman. "Superman, you got it, Victor?" "Cyborg, yes, I already have the sample," he said, taking the rare kryptonite. "Batman, I need to find out more about him. He was able to fight Supergirl and defeat her. With that kind of strength, he's a danger. He thought, watching Spider-Man swing, and Spider-Gwen seemed to disappear from his sight for a few seconds. The name Ghost Spider fits him perfectly. Chapter 4: Naruto the Spider-Man. Our favorite blonde could be seen in a strange, closed room with several glass booths where there were stings of different colors, but with one common feature, which was the spider on the chest. Many Ivans of different colors, and even some were armor, but they all had the spider symbol on their chests, proudly displaying the spider symbol. The blonde man was examining and modifying the black armor with green lines using a technological tablet, the screen of which was a hologram. Pressing a button on the tablet, the armor opened, revealing a green stone measuring less than 2 centimeters, and very thin. "I need a bigger one," he said, taking the small kryptonite in his hand, revealing its small size, barely visible to the human eye. He had obtained this tiny fragment of the rock that Batman and Superman overlooked when they were collecting the stone that had shattered during a battle with Tuesday. Putting the armor back in place next to the tiny fragment of kryptonite he had for now, he walked over to another crystal where the red armor with the Superman symbol and his spider on the chest was. "Are you ready, Jarvis?" he asked into the air, looking at the armor. "It's ready. Kryptonian armor with yellow solar radiation absorption. Weakness to red solar radiation." A robotic voice spoke, making Naruto smile. "Naruto, how are your skills?" "Jarvis, active X-ray and heat vision, invulnerability, active levitation and super hearing." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "What happened to the ice breath?" he asked doubtfully. He was sure he gave Jarvis the skill plans. Ice breath cannot be activated until a temperature regulator is found inside the suit for its safety. Naruto Essentio, although resistant to large temperature changes, could still feel cold, which could impede his movement and affect his battles. "Naruto, fine," he replied as he continued to the next glass booth, which contained a metal suit with a very large spider with blue lines that showed his energy of the same color. "Endurance?" "Jarvis, maximum speed of 2,608 Mach. Minus 16 times the speed of lightning or 16% of the speed of light." He smiled to see that one of his best armors was evolving well. The first project didn't reach Mach 1, but thanks to his great intellect, he managed to make number 2 have over Mach 10 in his first creation, and number 5 already reached Mach 1,500. "Okay, continue." He couldn't finish as a holographic screen appeared out of nowhere in front of him. "Special guest waiting for you." "Naruto, I don't have time, tell him to come back later." "It's Karakent." "Naruto, I'll be right there," he said as he walked towards the elevator to enter and exit his room. Upon reaching his floor, he could see Kara waiting for him in the living room that she had in her room. Letting out his playful cat side, he silently jumped onto the ceiling and started walking towards the girl who didn't seem to notice his existence. Arriving on top of Kara, he decided to go down on his web to be in front of the girl. "Hi," he said to the girl, who didn't seem surprised. Seeing that his plan to scare her hadn't worked, he plopped down next to Kara on the living room couch. "Hello?" he repeated without looking the blonde in the eyes, causing him to become confused. "Naruto, what's wrong? Is there something on my face?" "Kara, stop pretending, I know you hate me for what I did." Naruto just looked at her, seeing how sad the girl was, even crying. Seeing this, the blonde smiled without concern, implying that there was no hard feelings between them. "Don't worry, besides, no one got hurt, so it's no problem." Kara just lowered her head upon hearing the blonde's words, causing him to worry. "What's wrong? Did I say something wrong?" The response she received was a strong hug from Kara, causing him to be surprised, but then she reciprocated, leaving the girl in that position. It may be more difficult for her than it seems. Attacking her best friends for no apparent reason isn't something everyone can stand. For her, right now, she must feel like an idiot, and she thought that their friendship would have collapsed because of that inconvenience. "Naruto, don't worry. I'm here," he said comfortingly to the girl who followed in the hug. "Kara, thank you, you are the best friend I could wish for." They both stayed in that position for a few minutes until the blonde calmed down, releasing Uzumaki Parker's hug. Naruto smiled at Kara, who did the same thing but with a blush because the Uzumaki didn't realize what was happening on the girl's face. Kara, thank you? Naruto just smiled comfortably, causing the girl to copy his gesture. I'm your friend. If I don't help you with this, I'd feel terrible. They both remained calm until something came to the blonde's mind. Have you seen Gwen? Kara denied it, coming to Naruto first because the problem was less serious with him. She couldn't face her friend after attacking her like that. Even though she had that crystal, it wouldn't improve the guilt or the action. Did Gwen know you were Spider-Man? No. I told her the day before. I was planning on doing it when they were both there, but your cousin called you, so I told her. That wouldn't put her in danger. I mean, she wouldn't be able to defend herself if they found out she knew your identity. With that, Naruto looked at Kara doubtfully. Don't you remember yesterday's battle? I asked doubtfully. I remember seeing you kiss Gwen and then everything is red, she said, remembering the moment she lost her mind. Gwen is Ghost Spider. Are you kidding? Naruto shook his head in amusement. Not at all. I found out yesterday too. He laughed at the young woman's reaction. He couldn't blame her either. Gwen and Mary Jens are the last people anyone would believe would be heroes. They've both always been the typical popular model. One is a beauty who can fit into any outfit she puts on, and the other is the beautiful-looking type. Actually, now that he thinks about it, he has dated both of them, but for him they were both his friends and that's it. Treating others differently was never his strong suit, nor was letting them treat him differently. Tariri. Naruto looked strangely at his forearm where a forearm came out of nowhere projecting a hologram connected to the security camera at the main door, revealing Gwen standing. Naruto, the little spider came to the red, he said, making Kara look at him. Is it Gwen? I asked nervously. I really wasn't ready to talk to her right now. Besides, Naruto might not have paid attention to the scream she gave about liking Naruto, but Gwen obviously did notice, and that could cause problems in their relationship as friends, and she didn't want that. That's right, she said, pressing a button on her bracelet to let Gwen in, making the Kryptonian even more nervous, which she saw in her expression. In a few minutes Gwen arrived at the top floor, which was Naruto's, where the blonde and his friend Kara, who seemed nervous, were waiting. Hello? She greeted both young men with a calm smile. They did the same, but Kara was more worried. This made Gwen look at her strangely, worrying Kara even more. What's wrong, Kara? I asked from Kara's side. Sorry. Gwen just raised an eyebrow. Why are you asking for forgiveness? The question surprised Kara, but when she looked up she saw the girl's smile, which demonstrated her friendship. She really does have good friends. Both of them forgave her without even thinking about it or hating her for what she did. Before Kara could say anything, Naruto ISO noticed her presence by touching her hand, causing both of them to look at him in doubt. We can leave that for later, now there's something I want to show you. Both girls looked at him, curious about what he would show them. Kara, what is it? I asked. Surprise, he said, walking back toward the elevator with the blondes to go down just one floor, confusing the young women because they had never entered that particular floor before. When the elevator opened, the girls could see a room full of Spider-Man suits and armor, all of them ranging from thousands of different colors, designs, and shapes. Gwen, wow! Since when do you have this? I asked in amazement, looking at Ivan's outfits, from her boyfriend's simple black and red to a red and blue one that was very similar to the original, but with a more heroic and brilliant touch. I've been creating these costumes for over a year, she said, smiling at her friend's reaction. Kara, did you create one for me? The Kryptonian asked excitedly, looking excitedly at Naruto, who was sweating a drop. The blonde just pointed to the right where there was a blue full-body suit with the Supergirl symbol in gold. The girl was amazed to see such a work of art, so with her super speed, she approached the crystal, excited as if she were a child. Gwen was no different. The girl was looking at one of the booths where a suit identical to hers, but made of metal, was displayed. What are you doing? Kara asked Naruto, who only sweated a drop. You better try it yourself. Jarvis opened the cockpit. As she said that, the cockpit window opened, allowing Kara to see the suit. As she went to touch it, The armor turned into a bracelet on her hand, surprising her. What's this? Nanotechnology. They can enlarge and multiply to form something already programmed. And how do I make it activate? Voice control. Jarvis, activate armor. She recited, causing the artificial intelligence to respond, creating the armor on Kara's body, covering her neck and leaving her head uncovered. How does it look on me? I asked, posing for Naruto, who smiled because thanks to this, Kara cleared her mind and no longer feels guilty like before. It suits you perfectly, you look like a warrior. Suddenly, Naruto's ear was pulled by Gwen, who looked at Blonde with a pout. You're my boyfriend, you should compliment me too, she said, looking at the blonde without noticing Kara returning to her previous state. When they both saw Kara's despondency, Naruto looked at Gwen, who only blushed. Not wanting to leave the girl alone, Gwen decided to talk. Leave us alone. Come later, she said to Naruto, who then walked towards the room next to her armor storage room. Upon entering, Naruto could see a table with a red and gold armor and a triangle of a head on the chest revealing the symbol. When the blonde saw the armor, he smiled as he approached. His Uncle Tony was a master of robotics, one of the best. Even though his IQ was higher than his uncle's, he had a natural mastery in making armor. Most of what he knows about armor was taught by him, and even though he's better now, it doesn't take away from the fact that he's grateful for everything he taught him and gave him. Leaving aside the feeling of nostalgia, Naruto grabbed the triangle in the center of the armor called the arc reactor. This was something that many in the world would covet if its existence was discovered. A totally clean and, above all, unlimited source of energy, the only drawback was that it harmed the person who possessed it due to all the energy it possessed. But his uncle solved it in a very ingenious way. He created the Mark 50 armor, an armor that creates, multiplies and feeds nanobots to create anything, from large maces and small rockets to shields or swords, propellants in less than feet, and a large rocket propellant that takes you into space in seconds. It can launch rays from its hands and with a high concentration also from the reactor, but it was more dangerous. Also thanks to the reactor he could create other armors, although these had a charge limit of 100% and the nanobots were very few, reaching the point of not being able to provide more than a few weapons or propulsion but without the possibility of infinite use as would be the case with the arc reactor. Naruto, let's see what I can do with you, he said to create a hologram with his bracelet where there was a plane of 3 circles similar to the arc reactor but with some changes, like the first was a circle, while the second was a circle with the normal triangle inside and the last was a circle with the head triangle. They are the reactors from the Iron Man movies 1, 2 and 3. The main reactor is from the Infinity War and Endgame armor. Naruto continued creating the plans for his new 3 projects. The last day he discovered that even having electrical energy at his disposal was not enough to create and feed armor by himself, so this is where his new 3 projects come in. The 3 new arc reactors would create a wireless signal with the main reactor to continuously recharge, but since being used and charged at the same time would cause damage, he decided that they would be exchanging, while he used when the other 2 charged from the original arc reactor at a considerable distance. Ready. Naruto smiled as he saw that the plans were ready. Once the girls finished their conversation he could create them, and with a radius of 783,000 meters it would cover all of New York and just all of Metropolis, Gotham City and all the other cities in the surrounding area. Naruto, why are they taking so long? I asked the air until I heard the door open where Gwen and Kara came in. She was no longer wearing her suit, and strangely, she was completely red like a tomato. What's going on? I asked, seeing that they were both acting a bit strange. Gwen, you have to talk to Kara for a few minutes, she said, leaving the blonde with the boy who just made a curious face. Seeing Gwen leave, Naruto turned his gaze towards Kara, who seemed not to want to do the same. Naruto, what's wrong? He asked, standing next to the girl who was upset because she hadn't been paying attention to the young man. Seeing that she had no choice but to say something, she preferred to do it in a less noisy way, so she approached the blonde who had a confused face and suddenly kissed him. The blonde had his eyes open because he expected many things but never a kiss, feeling that he was cheating on Gwen. He was going to stop the kiss until he remembered when Gwen as Spider-Gwen told him that he could be with both of them, so he continued with the kiss, taking Kara by the waist, and the latter putting her arms around the Uzumaki's neck. They both separated due to lack of air, while a thread of saliva left their lips together while they were staring into each other's blue eyes, getting closer again and joining their lips in another passionate kiss. Flash. The sound of a camera caused both blondes to come out of their daydreams, demanding to see Gwen with her cell phone in her hands, who took the photo. Noticed that Gwen was discovered when she ran to a window, quickly stripped off her clothes, leaving her ghost spider outfit behind, and jumped out the window. Seeing that her friend would post the photo, Naruto quickly tapped his spider symbol to follow his partner. So as not to be left behind, Kara opened her jacket, revealing her Supergirl symbol, and flew off after her friend and now partner. Chapter 5: Naruto the Spider-Man. Naruto could be seen with Gwen and Kara at the blonde's house, hanging out in the room, or so it seemed, since the young team of heroes are really analyzing the young people of their university, since where Naruto and Gwen received their powers, which was in a laboratory accident that their academy visited, there is a small possibility that more young people have acquired powers like them or also awakened them, since some of their friends have surnames of Japanese origin where thousands of metahuman clans existed in the feudal era. Kara. Who should be first? She asked, looking at the photos of her more dubious friends. Naruto, I say he fears. Gwen. Sasuke? Because you say he could have some power. He's so lonely and cold that sometimes he seems emo. At least when he's not with you or your other friends. I don't know how you managed to make him even say a. She said, looking at a black-haired man who was wearing headphones and a rubber band on his mouth. The boy had a basic face, but if you looked closely you could tell he had a face as beautiful and fine as the blonde's. Naruto, as for how I do it, Superman can make Batman talk to him, because I couldn't. And as for why I think he has some power, I was researching the Uchiha name of Japan in Kyoto and found something interesting, he said, turning the laptop over, revealing an information bar. That's all I could gather. Gwen. Uchiha clan. It is an ancient clan of shinobi who had a strange power over fire, lightning, and a strange red eye with 3 blades that had the strange ability to put enemies in a trance or hypnosis, also foreseeing movements in a strange way or making the same movement as the enemy. They were also natural enemies of another clan called Senju, who had an ability to control elements. Some could control wood, which absorbs vital energy. Kara. Wow. That power is dangerous, she said in amazement. Hypnosis and trance were some of the few things she and her cousin didn't have much resistance to, so if someone caught them in one, they wouldn't be able to get out so easily. Gwen. I don't know which clan is more dangerous, she said with surprise, because both clans are a great threat if they were evil. Naruto. I told you, just having one of the 3 abilities is more than enough for him to participate in the team, he said, smiling. Kara. Okay. What's next? Gwen. What about the Hyuga? You have something from that clan. If it ever existed, of course, she said, looking at a brown-haired boy with light pearl-colored eyes. I think I have something. He began searching the laptop until he found his target. Hyuga clan. Enemies of his cousin clan, the Kagaya, who could manipulate and create bones and reinforce them to a point where they are harder than metal. Their abilities were the so-called deadliest fighting style in the world, the soft fist. This style is one of the strongest because with a single touch on a specific point, they could make an organ explode. Another fact is that their eyes have a strange quality. Their pupils are white, but in battle, the veins around them swell until they are easily visible. Gwen. Okay. I think I know why the feudal era was when the fewest political figures died. With people like that, not even she would dare attack someone like that. Even the League would have trouble dealing with an entire clan of people capable of throwing fire, rays that create hypnosis, others who control the 5 empty elements, another with control over bones that are like metal, and another that explodes organs with a simple blow, and eyes that are still unknown. But if they have something like the Uchihas, they would be a danger. Any more? I ask, hoping the others aren't as problematic as the ones that have come out so far. Naruto. Shikamaru. Nara. Wait. Can that lazy guy do anything other than sleep? Naruto. Shikamaru. Even though he's asleep, Most of the class knows more than everyone, including me. In addition, the Nara clan is known for being high-level strategists with an average IQ of 290. Each of them has been among the most intelligent in their generations and is always the strategist of the villages. They also have shadow control powers. Kara, he'd be good at being a strategist at the future base, and if he's really smart with computers, he could be our hacker," said the blonde, looking at the sleeping Nara in the photo. "Obviously there are more, so what are they?" "Naruto, there are 3 more. Kiba and Lee. Gwen, Dogboy, and the Brow. What are their possible abilities?" "Naruto, Kiba's Inusuka clan could turn into a semi-human canine beast with fur and glowing eyes. From what is known, this form is something that increases the user's violence but without losing control, and as an extra, they increase their power the angrier they are," he said, calmly biting into an apple while looking at a white-furred beast with glowing green eyes. "About Lee, it's a bit easier and simpler. He's not from a clan, but rather a descendant of a family known for their evil arts and forbidden techniques, which, by opening human limiters, gave them exaggerated power. This technique is known as the 8 inner gates, gates within humans that are designed so that the average human can only use 1% of their abilities. Kara, I don't know whether to be amazed by this skill, or why you called it simple and easy. It's not that bad. The gates are still dangerous to your body. The last one, producing so much physical power, turns you into volcanic ash from all the power it received, but from what you're saying, that power is so exaggerated it doubles reality. You can run in the air, launch wind waves with simple punches, and have unattainable speed and strength," he said, looking at the laptop. "Kara, how would you compare to my cousin?" "Naruto, I don't know, but to bend reality you need 10 times the speed of light. Wonder Woman and Superman reach the light after a few seconds, so the only one who can surpass that speed is Flash, but even he needs time and distance to do it. Gwen, if they become villains it would be total chaos," she said seriously, because these kids were no small fry. "Don't worry, Sasuke, being an emo would never do that. Kiba is just a womanizer, Neji is serious but only speaks logically, Shikamaru is too lazy, and Lee is a very good person," he said, reminding all his friends that they were the best he could ask for. "Gwen, who's the other one? You mentioned 3. Naruto just sighed and then threw a picture of who the 2 blonde girls would least believe. "Mary Yen? It's not a joke?" she asked, surprised because one of the most beautiful girls in her class could have powers. "Gwen, what are her powers?" "Naruto, possibly a spider." He sighed because the last person he would have thought it would be was Mary Yen. "Why do you think that?" Gwen asked doubtfully. "There were only 3 bioengineered spiders, and the 3 of us were in that part of the lab," he said, looking at the image. "Plus, she started acting strange after that day, even skipping parties." "There were 4 of them," he said, remembering that there were 4 spiders. I only remember seeing 3 when the explosion happened," he said, remembering that moment. "There weren't 4. Just 1. At that exact moment, 3 were on display because the 4th was a mistake. It was shooting webs out of its feet instead of its rear end," he said, seeing his friends' doubtful faces. "Naruto, so we have to worry about a possible 4th arachnid. We don't know if he bit anyone, he could have simply died in the chemical explosion. Kara, so what do we do now? We've got the potential heroes, but how do we get them to join? Do we reveal our identities to them? Do we invite them as heroes, or as normal people, or even as an undercover club?" "Naruto, the best thing for now is to confirm if they have powers and then we propose that they join." "Gwen, Naruto is right, we have not confirmed that they have superpowers," said the girl to lie down on the bed and give a slight sigh of calm. Her plan was to gather a team of young heroes to take care of Metropolis, since lately Superman does not spend time in the city but in space with the League, but since the cities of each member have someone to take care of it normally, that is not a problem. Flash has the Flash family, Green Lantern has his colleagues from the corporation who are humans, Batman has his former Robin, even Jason Tupu, although he refuses to follow Batman's path, still helps. The Martian has his niece and the others also have someone. "Kara, so when do we start?" "I say so," he said, walking toward his living room, pressing the button on the table. The table began to change, ending in a futuristic table with a computer and many other things that would help. In the center, there was a hologram of the planet and screens showing various parts of Metropolis. Naruto, Jarvis. Look for Sasuke Uchiha in real time. He said so the map would shrink until it ended in Metropolis, or rather in a store where students normally stopped to shop since it was on their way to the university. On one of the screens, Uchiha was shown in front of a vending machine. One was for drinks and the other for potato chips. Are you buying? Naruto, it seems so. It's perfect, he never spends money but still buys a lot of potato chips. This can give us a clue as to why. He said, seeing that the Uchiha was acting strange, looking around and seeing that there was no one there, the boy put his finger on the coin part, and then sent a slight line of electricity which made the machine release several chips at once. Bingo! The blonde smiled when he saw that his emo friend was a metahuman. Kara, it's confirmed that she has electrokinesis, but what about pyrokinesis or her strange eye? Naruto, Sasuke is many things, but information genius isn't one of them. But he always has the answers. I sit behind him, and he'll type while watching Shikamaru or some other smart guy when he's awake, and he'll casually type the exact same thing. Same space, same place, as if. Gwen, he'll copy it. That tells us his eyes can copy movements. Naruto, in her clan description, she said they did the same move as the opponent. She already made that clear, and about the fire. She smokes but never carries a lighter. If she didn't say that, I don't know what would. Good. And the others? Naruto, Jarvis. Find Niji Hyuga in real time. The procedure was the same, and Niji Hyuga appeared on the screen, strangely fighting against some bandits. The strange thing was that they all fell with a single blow, and the Hyuga boy's eyes were bulging with veins. The boy also dodged attacks from behind without turning to look, as if he could see them even while turned away. Not much needs to be said. He smiled, because they got bingo again. The Hyuga was beating everyone with a single blow, and his eyes showed they had some strange power. Apparently, he could see around him in a diameter of at least 360 degrees, or so it seemed from the attacks. Gwen, seeing around like that is a great skill, so you have no blind spot. Kara, go to the other one. Cone. So the group went by parts, where each boy showed signs of having a power or already showed them, as happened with Shikamaru, who showed his intelligence. Kiba showed he could do the transformation but without control. Lee was the one who did not show enough, he was the one who showed the most hope. The boy was in a ravine climbing with one hand and the other tied and was about to climb. He ran out of energy, but from one moment to the next he recovered his energy and performed a jump that was humanly impossible for a young man of his age. Naruto, almost everything was confirmed. Only Mary Yen is missing, he said, speaking without much enthusiasm. The friendship he managed to form with Mary Yen after their breakup was destroyed by the party since both of them couldn't see each other's faces. Jarvis. Mary Yen's position in real time. He said so the map could do its thing until it ended in a scene that made Naruto blush and embarrassed the other two in the room. The blush was so much that Naruto fell to the floor blushing while two others turned off the computer to remove the image from the screen. Gwen, I'll never be able to see her face again. She spoke with a slight blush because what Mary Yen was doing wasn't easy to get over. At her side, instead of being embarrassed, Carol was angry because she didn't do something Gwen didn't. What's wrong with you? You seem furious. Kara, she had a picture of her and Naruto while holding that, she said, making the finger sign and then looking at Naruto on the ground. He's a pervert. She sighed to pick him up from the ground. I doubt it. He's so innocent that he only blushed seeing her naked, he didn't even see what she was doing, she said, helping her friend lift the blonde boy and carry him to her bed. Kara, he blushed just seeing her naked. Gwen, it must have been a headache for Mary Yen. She laughed thinking about what her friend went through when she was with the blonde who proved to be a real treat when he wanted to be. Although he never proved to be perverted, he still had his moments of seduction even though she didn't realize it. Chapter 6 Naruto the Spider-Man. That same day. At night. Naruto could be seen standing in a building window looking at his new suit, which he didn't even know where it came from. "Jarvis?" he asked, hoping the artificial intelligence would respond, and luckily for him, it did. "What do you want?" "Naruto, what the heck is this suit?" I asked with hesitation, hoping the artificial intelligence would respond urgently because it might be radioactive or worse. "It's your suit, sir. Only, strangely, it's been enhanced by a viscous substance of unknown origin." "Naruto, there's more of that." I asked to see if there was more of this stuff out there. "The others were successfully imprisoned, but this one managed to reach you and merge with the suit you had." "Naruto, okay. Is this thing showing any hostility?" "Jarvis. Negative. He has no emotions, it seems to be just an attribute-enhancing liquid." Naruto smiled, but he didn't notice a small tentacle emerging from the back of the suit, which had a medium-sized spider symbol on it. The next day. "Hey, how are you?" greeted a boy with fawn-shaped marks on his cheeks, while next to him was a pineapple hair and to the right was a black-haired man with headphones listening to music while eating chips. Naruto greeted back, but with a slightly more aggressive hairstyle change. One side was long while the other was completely shaved, but in a very cool yet rebellious way, especially with his eyes, which showed a slight malice. "Like that but blonde, you know, and with marks." "Naruto, how are you, thief?" he whispered to Sasuke, who, without letting him notice, opened his eyes in surprise. "Don't get fat from all the free potatoes," he continued, then bumped fists with Kiba, who had his enormous pet named Akamaru by his side. At that moment, Neji appeared behind Naruto, causing one of the students to blurt out in fear, "Stop doing that! The school will be left without students from so many cardiac arrests." Naruto joked, while secretly watching how none of his friend was scared, but they still seemed very on guard, like normal young people, proving that they were indeed from shinobi ninja clans. "Oh, the champion. I heard you beat the hell out of a lot of thugs yesterday. How many bandits were there? 10? 20? He said, putting his hands on Neji's shoulder, who just crossed his arms. "Neji, who knows?" "Shikamaru, and you didn't get hurt?" I asked because fighting against everyone would be difficult even for him who is secretly a master in almost 63 different styles. "Of course not. He has eyes that go all the way down to your back, or rather they see all the way down to your back." Neji showed no contempt, even though he didn't flinch when he heard the blonde's words, but his eyes turned towards Naruto with great suspicion in them. "Naruto, we'd better get to class. Otherwise, the beast might catch us," he finished, passing Kiba's side, who just narrowed his eyes because that didn't seem like it was meant for his teacher. "Shikamaru. Because it seems so strange, it's almost as if it's a secret and important thing," he thought, watching each boy look at Naruto with suspicion, astonishment, and doubt. It was undoubtedly something personal, and perhaps the information about his clan could help him. After all, each of them had surnames from the feudal era, surnames that ceased to exist for a reason. Later, after school, Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider could be seen in an edition waiting for Naruto and Supergirl to arrive. Right now, they're in a chase that will pass through that street in a few minutes, and she alone can't stop 2-ton trucks. She can lift trucks up to 10 or 15 tons, but it's very different from lifting 3 3-ton trucks, since that requires a lot of balance. "Gwen!" Spider heard her name called from behind her. Turning around, she found Supergirl in her new outfit, which wasn't that different from the original. It just had long blue pants and red boots at the end, with a yellow bow separating the two colors, making them look more like boots. The girl had changed because originally she wore the skirt because her plan was to show the power of women, and there is nothing more feminine than a skirt, but as she was maturing she decided to be a little more serious and stop tempting young men with her clothes, plus she already has a partner and does not want to cause misunderstandings. "Sorry for the delay. I forgot how to activate the suit Naruto gave me," he said with a smile while scratching his head. Naruto, apart from the suits that he created for them, also made them some suits very similar to the ones they had, except that they were made of nanobots that were created with reinforced fabric to the point of being as hard as steel. "Don't worry," he replied, not giving it much thought. "Supergirl, Naruto hasn't arrived yet?" How strange, he's always the first. Spider-Gwen, yes. But we can't stop thinking, here they come. At that moment, 3 black armored pickup trucks turned 2 blocks away, traveling at high speed while 5 patrol cars followed, while one of them spoke over a loudspeaker to convince the robbers to stop. Spider-Gwen, let's wait for them to get closer, she said to Supergirl, who was in position. The blonde copied her act to prepare her web shooters, red style. The good thing about this method is that the web comes out red style directly, and she doesn't have to do much. The girls were ready. But before they could do anything, a black figure fell from the right, crashing into one of the vans, pushing the other 2 into a wall, leaving it completely destroyed. What the hell? Supergirl, that was bound to happen. I asked hesitantly, because I was absolutely certain that this wasn't supposed to happen under any circumstances. Unless it was a simple coincidence that that figure landed in that spot at that speed and aimed a kick at the thieves, this was anything but a coincidence. Spider-Gwen, let's see who it is. He speaks, swinging out and landing beside all the smoke caused by the impact of the trucks and the wall. Supergirl is flying beside him, waiting alertly to make sure the figure isn't a threat. I think I'm too strong. A familiar voice came from within the smoke, which, as it cleared, revealed a Spider-Man in a new suit that no one had seen on their excursion through their warehouse of suits and armor. Supergirl, Naruto? Oh. Hi. She greeted cheerfully, looking at both girls, who seemed a little surprised in Supergirl's case, and upset in Spider-Gwen's case. Where was I? He asked with obvious seriousness, confusing Naruto. Spider-Man, I was doing something important. He crossed his arms. Spider-Gwen, like what? Trying on your new suit? That's none of your business, so what? He said, angering the masked blonde. What's up? He said, pointing to the next block where some sort of event was taking place. There are innocent people who could have died because of your delay. He accused Naruto, who frowned. So what? I don't care either. Supergirl, wait. What do you mean it doesn't matter? They're innocent people, she said to the boy who didn't seem to care about her words. What's wrong with you? Spider-Gwen asked with a sad voice. We looked at Spider-Man, who just frowned. What's wrong with me? I just want you and them to leave me alone. Because I'm Spider-Man, I have to do this every day, and no one knows how to say a simple thank you. I'm always taking fatal blows, dodging bullets, and stopping robbers, and I've never heard a damn thank you. I want you out of my life. Spider-Man stopped when he saw Spider-Gwen's mask getting wet around the eyes. The girl took off her mask, showing tears running down her eyes like waterfalls, while her nose was reddened and her eyes were watering with tears. Is that what you want? Fine, I'll get out of your life. The girl finished before putting her mask back on and swinging off, leaving Spider-Man standing. When Spider-Man turned his gaze towards Supergirl, he could see that the girl was crying too. When he got closer, the blonde began to fly, leaving Naruto standing there, who after a few seconds floated away faster than before. The suit not only improved his physical attributes. When Naruto got home, he took off his mask and threw it on the bed. He then sat down, putting his hands on his face. He had ruined it, and even he didn't know why he spoke to them like that, but it seemed that selfish emotions suddenly arose within him and made him prefer his own ambitions. I'm an idiot, he thought angrily at himself for the way he treated them. After this, he's sure they won't want to talk to him anymore. Without realizing it, that remorse slowly died away until his red pupils disappeared, leaving his irises completely white. Naruto took the mask and then put it on while the spider symbol grew wild and the shape of the eyes became pointed, matching the symbol in style. Naruto. We don't need it, he said as he left through his balcony, but with his webs now black instead of white. Spider-Man swung up to a gargoyle, where he leaned as the rain began to fall slowly, making everything even gloomier. We never needed them. A week later, Naruto could be seen in his warehouse of suits and armors. He was working on his armor with a serious and cold look. He had been like that for a week, and not even his aunt and his almost sister could make him change. He had also missed that entire week of college. What's more, he hadn't even left the tower, even stopping to attend attacks from villains like Electro, Mystic, Green Goblin, Rhino and the Vulture, leaving all that to Supergirl and Spider-Gwen, who also don't have it easy. The only reason he works on his suits is because it is his passion, like his deceased uncle, and it is the only thing that can keep him calm, because lately he is having many impulses of anger and selfishness, wanting only his personal good. Naruto, Jarvis. What's his speed? Maximum speed 2771 Mach. Naruto. It's okay, he said, taking off his nightgown. He didn't sleep last night because he couldn't get to sleep, so he came here to calm down and ended up spending the whole night doing this. Seeing that he had already given the improvements to each suit, Naruto left the room asking to see a plate of food on his table, which must have been left by his aunt, who still cared about him even after everything that is happening. He continued on his way, ignoring the food, to sit on his bed and stare at the suit he was still wearing. For some strange reason, he didn't want to take it off. It was as if something else wasn't letting him take it off, and that was starting to piss him off. Stop insisting. I'm not going out. He spoke to the air as if he were crazy. But he was really talking to a voice in his head telling him to go out and stop robberies. The voice had been doing it for a week, and he was telling it to his subconscious. He trusted Jarvis, and she told him this thing had no life, so he blamed it on his own madness to save people. Naruto, leave me alone, I'm not going out to do. What the hell am I doing here? Spider-Man shouted as he found himself in a building where his back was visible. He could see that the suit had grown in muscle and the spider and eye embroidery were more aggressive. As if a suit was about to break free and just needed time. He was about to return home, but he saw a group of people robbing a bank. Unable to resist, he threw himself at them and, with a powerful kick, sent one of them crashing into a wall, destroying it. He quickly grabbed another by the shirt and punched him, breaking his jaw. He threw a manhole cover at the third stomach, breaking a rib. Spider-Man stared at his hands in amazement. Even though he was still holding back most of his strength, he was able to easily break the thief's jaw. It seemed as if he were punching the air without any resistance, just like flying. He was really liking this new super suit. Naruto heard someone else coming out of the door where the robbers came from, and when he was about to attack he stopped because he recognized the person who came out of the bar. Felicia! In front of Spider-Man was a woman in her 20s wearing black clothes and a white silk lion collar. The girl was wearing a mask that concealed her identity, while holding two bags apparently containing stolen money. This was Felicia, better known as Black Cat. A former employee of Orbo's corporation, she was fired for an accident that wasn't her fault. Out of anger and lack of money, the girl began stealing, and with her extreme flexibility, high speed, and good equipment, she became almost rich. She also has a unique power, manipulating luck in her favor. Or rather, the ability to give her opponents bad luck, leaving her with a nearly 70% chance of winning and successfully stealing. Oh, Spady. Who would have thought we'd run into each other again on my first robbery after returning? The girl said, her tone of mockery very natural. Spider-Man, what are you doing here? You've been missing for a year. I'm back from vacation, she said mockingly. So you brought down my teammates. Looks like you're not just spiders anymore, she said, looking at one of her teammates who was bleeding from the mouth. His jaw was a mess, and he might never speak again. So you're working in gangs now? He asked, stepping on the hand of one of the gang members who tried to grab a gun, breaking his wrist as if it were a game. Black Cat, we all get rusty, and I don't want to get caught on my first mission in so long. Jail's not my thing. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her words. What makes you think you won't go to jail? The girl just smiled and hugged Spider-Man's neck, who didn't flinch. Have you already forgotten what we had together? How you rode me and I screamed, how you filled me completely and kissed me. Her words were filled with excitement, showing that she still had feelings for the boy. Spider-Man, do you want me to let you go? He asked, crossing his arms. He didn't know why Cat was telling him all this, but if he could draw any conclusions, it would be so he'd let her go, with or without the money. Black Cat, if you want, you can come with me, she told him with her very calm and sensual tone, That although she didn't show it or say it, Naruto missed the cat, it could be said that they both got along well. You convinced me. But leave the money, he said, kicking the fat guy in the face as he tried to grab him from behind. It seems more than one jaw was broken in that alley. Fine. I don't need the money, she said, dropping the bags and launching a hook from her wrist. Naruto followed her with the black webs he received for the suit. Spider-Man, if you didn't need the money, why did you record it? Black Cat, I thought I told you. I don't steal for the money, I steal for the adrenaline rush. Otherwise, I never would have listened to you about lending me money every time you asked for it. Spider-Man. The girl had a strange urge to steal just for the thrill and adrenaline rush, especially when he was the one chasing her because she feels a strange attraction to him and doesn't want to know why. They both reached their destination, which was a small apartment belonging to a very humble person, but well decorated with cat stuff everywhere. I'm amazed you don't have cats. With all this, it's obvious from a distance that you love them. That? It was for a robbery 3 days ago at Lex Luthor's company. The bastard left the most expensive piece of ancient Egyptian vases in his office, the girl said, returning without her black suit and now wearing casual and somewhat sensual clothes. She held 2 beers in her hands and gave one to Spider-Man, who drank it without any problem. What's up? Will Spider-Man arrest me for robbing the biggest son of a hitch in Metropolis? Spider-Man, if I were Spider-Man I would do it, but Naruto Uzumaki is not a hero. He said to take off his mask, which without noticing, like the spider, he became less wild, almost like before, and his muscles went down a bit, but no one noticed because he was talking. New look? I like it, but the messy look gave you a good boy vibe, he said to Naruto, who smiled at the words. Naruto, we all change, us too. Felicia, us? It doesn't matter, he dismissed, because speaking that way was something he'd been doing occasionally for the past week. Perhaps a new habit. And what were you doing during your vacation? Felicia, not much, really. Visiting Gotham City, Chicago, Miami, and other parts of America. Naruto, and what did you steal? Are you accusing me of stealing? He feigned a voice of astonishment and dismay, taking a drop from Naruto. A new city, no Spider-Man to stop you, no one knows you, which makes it easy to outwit the cops, and the adrenaline rush of being locked up for life. Yeah, I think you'd do anything to steal something really expensive and get the cops' attention. You know me very well, he said, pointing behind Naruto. When he turned around, he found a painting of a very peculiar abstract work. It looked like some kind of scared person with their arms up, and everything was like ocean waves. Isn't this the one worth 20 million? He asked doubtfully because it seemed familiar. No, this is a modified copy, worth over 4.1 million euros. It's not worth as much as the original, but it's very expensive. Naruto, looks like you changed it a lot. He spoke, looking around the room, but suddenly Felicita was sitting on top of him, looking at him with her smile that was anything but saintly. Do you want to see if I haven't changed in another area? She asked in a very provocative tone. Naruto, just don't meow too much, kitty. He followed suit and kissed the girl quickly. In less than a second, the kiss escalated into something more, ending in the girl's bed with a lot of moans from Felicia and a lot of cum from Naruto, who seemed like a drinkable key because of how much he got out of it. XDDDDDD. Chapter 7 Naruto the Spider-Man. The next day. Felicia. What does this remind you of? She asked, leaning against Naruto's chest, his hands on his head. They had both woken up 10 minutes ago from their intimacy of more than 6 hours, which Felicia could say were the best of her life. When I broke up with Mary Yen and we ended up like this. He recalled a very similar moment. He had recently broken up with Mary Yen due to various issues, and as always, he couldn't resolve anything because of his Spider-Man job. But upon arriving at the robbery, he found Black Cat, who, as always, seduced him, but since he was vulnerable this time, she managed to drag him into her bed very easily. Felicia, yes. That day I became a hero to try to do the right thing, but because I couldn't stop stealing, I disappeared so as not to cause trouble. She said, lost in her memories. She remembered very well when she had that crazy adventure with the blonde. It really was totally crazy, and she would do it again if she had the chance. Naruto, now that you mention it, how did you survive that explosion? Did it literally blow up in your face? Felicia, sacrificing one of my lives is the most viable option. She mocked, sitting on Naruto's lap and then resting her head on the blonde's toned chest, who placed his hand on her back. Naruto, I would like to be like this longer, he said to hug the albino, who smiled. Even though Spider-Man and Black Cat had a questionable relationship because they didn't let that relationship enter into their work. But Naruto and Felicia were something else. Both seemed to love each other without any restriction. They were like the perfect couple for all the love they had for each other, a love that Aphrodite herself would envy. They both stayed in that position for a long time. Either wanted to move an inch, but since Naruto had to go to college, he had to get up, bothering the silver-haired girl a bit. After calming down a bit from everything that happened that week, Naruto decided to go back to college. Although she still felt that selfishness on him, she could still restrict him a little, but it wasn't something easy to do, and his tantrums were something that wouldn't happen unless he got angry. Naruto finished getting ready where Felicia had just gotten out of bed in his black and white Spider-Man jacket. Thanks, he said, taking it off, leaving his chest exposed and wearing black and dark blue panties. Hey! The silver-haired woman shouted, annoyed at him for taking off her jacket. She always put her clothes back on after their passionate nights. For some reason he wasn't interested in knowing, for her own good. Although he was already used to it, because Mary Yen did the same thing. With the jacket in hand, Naruto touches it with his watch, causing the nanobot to disappear, just like the substance that seemed to have become one with the nanobots. It really wasn't something that interested him. He made sure to watch the substance just like the other three that arrived, which weren't that different, but it didn't do anything to them because those did have emotions, and not positive ones. They were like substances of pure hatred that no one could stand, unlike his, which was calm but fed on his own feelings. Naruto, I'm leaving. He finished to leave, leaving Felicia at the house. She said goodbye to him in the shower. She had to take a shower to go buy the special pills, or else the next thing she would go out to buy would be baby diapers. Later, Naruto could be seen at the university, already about to start classes. Everyone was staring at Naruto, the millionaire genius who had been absent for a whole week for some reason that none of his friends could explain. Naruto didn't seem to mind the stares, because even though he wasn't as ignorant as before, he didn't care what others thought of him. Classes went by normally, and since Naruto studies different things, he didn't have to be with Gwen or Kara or any other friend, or so it would be for the next 2 hours, since after lunch he had classes with Gwen and Shikamaru and he didn't want to talk to either of them at the moment. Naruto thought these classes are boring. He thought, looking at the blackboard where he could figure everything out. The only reason for his studies is that he needed the diploma to be able to take the business classes. That was something his Uncle Tony made clear in his will, because he knew that even though he was an unparalleled genius, he needed friends and a girlfriend. He didn't know why the latter were included, but it was. Their classes went normally from there until lunch, and as usual, everything filled up quickly after they bought their food and sat down at a table. Del sat quietly eating while listening to music. It was one of his favorite pastimes and the one that most calmed those impulses inside him. But look who's back. The blonde heard a voice and turned around to find Kiba Inuzuka, Shikamaru Nara, Rock Lee, Sasuke Uchiha, and Neji Hyuga. The four of them had trays of food as they sat next to him. All except Kiba had serious or bored faces, but as they always were, he left it aside. Neji, why were you absent for so long? Naruto raised an eyebrow. Naruto, personal problems. Personal problems with Gwen Stacy and Kara Kent? Naruto just acted uninterested, although the Hyuga noticed it was quite the opposite. The boy seemed to be somewhat sad about something, and it was obviously because of his broken relationships. So you broke up. Something that happened this month was that the entire university turned into shit when it was revealed that Naruto Parker Uzumaki was in a relationship with Gwen Stacy and Kara Kent. That same day, the entire university turned into a mess because of all the guys who offended the blondes for being with the same man, but those people, besides failing university, got more than one arm broken for Naruto and themselves. They literally massacred over 286 students, and although most were a little out of breath, none were hurt in any way. They all had superhuman strength, and most fell with less than a blow from their strength. Yash! Don't be sad, Naruto-kun. We'll help you, the boy in the green jacket said, hugging Naruto by the neck, who blanked his face. Stop using that suffix, it makes me feel weird. Shikamaru, that's true, we don't live in Japan anymore, said the Nara, still with his lazy expression he always had. Naruto, Japan. My mom always talked about what it was like and how beautiful its landscapes were, he said, remembering the images his mother showed him as a child, which Ivan usually showed temples with a swirling symbol, and one he didn't quite remember was a temple full of masks that looked demonic but in different shapes. His mother told him that they were important and that if something ever happened to him, he would look for them at the Uzumaki temple and take them all for some reason that, although he didn't remember at the time, he now thought about doing one day when he traveled to Japan. Even though we're Japanese, we've never lived there or even visited it, said the Uchiha, thinking a little about Japan. He was born in Japan and lived there for a year, but he didn't remember anything except his own mother, who died in a plane crash. He had returned to Japan to visit his grandparents with his father and older brother, leaving him orphaned and alone. Lee, my teacher, lives in Japan. He comes to visit me every 6 months to spend time, and he stays for 2 months, he said, happily remembering his teacher. As an outsider, he had no one to take care of him, but his teacher, who was known to his parents, helped him and taught him many things. Naruto, I'm planning on traveling to Japan in 4 months. If you want, you can go with me, he suggested, making the boys look at him doubtfully. Kiba, maybe so, I don't have much to do either. Shikamaru, troublesome. My mom will be upset, but it's okay. Miji, it's okay. I'll be able to visit my uncles and cousins during the trip. Rock Lee, sure, I'll be able to visit Gay-sensei 2 months before. Sasuke lay back, unwilling to talk. He was listening to music, and he didn't want to interrupt the music in his mind. Shouldn't we be going to class? Rock Lee asked, seeing that the students were already leaving the university cafeteria. That's true, we'll talk later, Kiba said as he went out for a run. His attendance wasn't very good, and he didn't want to fail the next semester, or his mother would beat him until he couldn't feel any more buttocks. The others did the same until they left Naruto and Shikamaru, who were walking together toward their next class. You know she'll be there, right? Asked the lazy guy. Naruto, I know, I'll try to solve it, he said as he lowered his orange Bluetooth headphones. It's his favorite color because red and yellow make orange, and since his mother liked red and his father liked yellow, his son fused both colors and got orange. Naruto entered the classroom, which was empty, leaving only Gwen, who was writing in one of her notebooks. Naruto sighed to sit next to Gwen, who didn't turn to look at him, making him sigh again because he knew this would be very difficult. The girl had a black blouse with a brown jacket over it, and a tight skirt up to her knees. She had very long transparent black stockings, and on her head she had a black headband that held her hair in its usual way. Naruto, can we talk? She asked, but I ignored him. Sorry, he said, causing Gwen to stop writing in her notebook, but not turn to look at him. I acted like an idiot, and I don't know why I really did it. The girl continued listening to him but didn't say anything in response. What I want to say is I'm really sorry. I know nothing will ever be the same, but I want us to at least be friends again. At that moment, Gwen turned to look at him, making his heart skip a few beats. Do you really expect me to forget everything and go back to normal after that? You yelled at me too, she said angrily. I know, and I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to me. I just got tired of everyone at some point. Everyone expects great things from me, and that puts a huge burden on my shoulders. Both Naruto and Spider-Man have responsibilities that everyone puts on me. Revolutionizing Stark technology or saving the day, always in any way. Gwen just sighed. She knew Naruto had a lot of weight on his shoulders because of everything people expected of him. Almost the son of the former richest person in the world and with the best technology, it is already being compared to alien technology. People expect Naruto to continue and improve Stark Industries as Tony Stark himself did after taking over the companies from his father's former hand. Gwen, we can try. Naruto suddenly hugged Gwen, who was a little surprised, but then took the hug with a smile. Since you almost forgave me, can you tell me what happened this week? The girl sweated a drop when she saw Naruto with a nervous smile. The day passed normally between Naruto and Gwen, who began to talk more comfortably with Naruto, becoming the friends they were before, until classes ended and Naruto and Gwen were heading towards the exit, until a voice that Naruto knew called Gwen. When they both turned around, they could see Kara heading towards them. How are you, dear? The girl was cut off when she saw the blonde next to Gwen, who sent her a warm smile that, even though she wouldn't admit it, she liked it, and it made her blush. Kara, what are you doing with it? The blonde asked Gwen, who was sweating a drop. Gwen, we're trying to be friends again. It's not like we're ever going to get back together, she replied to the Kryptonian, making Naruto's sweat drop. He could still hear the conversation through his super hearing, and even without it, he knew he could do it. Well, good for you. With that, the girls started walking away, leaving Naruto dejected and Gwen with a drop of blood. They looked like the jealous girl bothering the blonde. I deserve it, Naruto thought dejectedly, a purple aura surrounding his head. The blonde and Gwen left the university together, while far away from them was Supergirl looking at them with her X-ray vision and telescopic vision. The girl was frowning while crossing her arms, while in the distance the spider instinct was activated, making him sigh. Making Kara forgive me will be the most difficult challenge in my life, he thought, because his instinct told him that, and if there is something he learned is that the spider instinct never fails. Naruto, Gwen, we can meet later, you know, so we can talk, he said to the girl, who looked at him doubtfully but then smiled. We're not even friends yet, and you're already trying to win me over. It seems like you haven't changed. Okay, see you at the police station tonight. Just don't be late, Spider-Man, he finished, continuing on his way, leaving Naruto standing there, who smiled. Goodbye. We'll see you later, he finished, entering the alley next door and summoning his suit, which still had that black and white shape. He quickly emerged in his suit, surprising a boy who was walking past his mother. It's Black Spider. The boy pointed to his mother, who smiled at seeing Spider-Man. Even if he was gone for a whole week, people still loved him like the first day he showed up to defend the weak and stop the bullies. Mother, I told you he would never stop helping us. Yes. Now I believe you, Mommy, the boy said, hugging his mother. Chapter 8, Naruto the Spider-Man. Naruto could be seen in his black Spider-Man suit flying through the city to the location he and Gwen had agreed upon. Upon arriving, he could see Spider-Girl sitting on the edge of the building, calmly waiting for him. He stood next to the girl, who stood still, only turning to look at him slightly. I thought you weren't coming, Spider-Gwen said as Spider-Man sat down next to the girl. I was hoping you'd trust me more. But I can't say I don't deserve it. What does that building remind you of? I asked, looking at the building across the street that used to be called Osper Industries. This is where we gained our powers, he said, recalling the incident he indirectly caused. Yes, we won because someone didn't know how to stay in line, I said, looking at Naruto, who laughed a little embarrassed. He had separated from the school group and went to a room that had many modified spiders. Out of curiosity, he touched one of the spider webs they created, but it caused a few spiders to fall, most of them dying, leaving only 3 where one bit him and the other 2 Gwen and Mary Jens, who had followed him. Yes. Because of me, you lost your job application at one of the largest companies in the metropolis. He smiled, remembering that day Gwen was fired from Osper Enterprises for the incident that caused the genetic modification machine to explode, causing a smoke containing radioactive gas to spread among all the young people, since they were the only ones without radiation protection suits. Yes. That was also the day Uncle Ben died because of me, he said, looking up at the sky with a sad air around him. Spider-Gwen couldn't see his face, but she was absolutely sure that Naruto had a sad face right now. Remembering that you're the one to blame for such a thing doesn't make you smile. You know it wasn't your fault. She tried to comfort the boy, who still hadn't gotten over his uncle's death more than 3 years ago. Yes, it was. I could have stopped that thief, but I let him get away, and that's why the guy died. Gwen just put her hand on his shoulder, looking at him comfortably. Even with the mask on, she could give her friend a supportive look in moments like this. You know he didn't want you to be like this. Get over it for him. Spider-Man took off his mask to give his longtime friend a genuine smile. She and Kara were truly the best friends he could have asked for. Now that you mention it, it brings back memories of me crashing through a concrete floor because I stomped too hard. I ended up falling into an abandoned underground fight club, and that's where I got the design for my first costume. Wait. Isn't that your first design? I want to see the others if you're sure, she said, looking at Naruto, who sweated a drop at his spider friend's enthusiasm, but smiled nonetheless. Let's go, he said, smiling as he began to float, shaking hands with Spider-Gwen, who was holding on to him with a smile. With that, Naruto threw her into the air with great ease, dropping her on his back, surprising the girl with the sudden movement. Hey! Don't do that! You weren't going to accept riding on my back if I asked you to, he said, as he began to fly at high speed, surprising Spider-Gwen. The last time she saw Spider-Man fly, he hadn't been going that fast. It was Mach 1 or 3, but not Mach 5 like he was currently doing, breaking the sound barrier. In an instant, they arrived at Stark Tower, where Naruto landed, leaving Spider-Gwen on the floor. Follow me, he said, entering the house. With a tap on his watch, the entire Spider-Man suit disappeared, leaving him in his ordinary clothes. Spider-Gwen followed suit, and with a tap on his chest, her entire suit fell into a necklace with a purple stone that Naruto gave her and modified for her. And where are they? I asked, looking at Naruto, who entered his warehouse of suits and armor. Upon entering, you could see all of the blonde's armor, except for a black one that shone green, which Gwen remembered in a booth where there was now a red suit with a black sign that matched the bottom, making it look like the spider was covering all of it. Here, he said, pointing to some booths containing suits that looked like they were handmade and made from ordinary household clothes. One was completely red with a spider on the chest and football gloves, while the pants were blue and very loose, not stiff at all, like pajamas. The second was a red coat with a black spider in the center. The pants were light blue jeans while the mask was a shade of blue like the pants but with red eye rims. The third one was more decent, as it was a tight red suit like Spider-Man's regular suit, except this one had a sleeveless blue coat over it and a black spider in the center, like all the suits, but this one was on its side. On his wrists were some kind of small capsules that looked like projectiles. Wow! They turned out well for being handmade. I praised Naruto, who smiled. Naruto, thanks. I made the last one with some ideas from my Uncle Tony, he said, looking at the first suit made by him and his uncle. It was something he really appreciated and thanked him wholeheartedly. Why is everything so dark? I asked, noticing that Naruto's room was dark. I didn't sleep here. Maybe Aunt May didn't have any lights on this morning. Those words earned Gwen a jealous look at Naruto, who didn't notice. You didn't sleep here. Where did you spend the night? She asked, trying to hide her jealousy and anger. Naruto noticed the anger in Gwen's voice and instantly became nervous. You see. The story is very interesting. It's just that I ran into Felicia last night during one of her robberies, and something led to something else. I slept with her, he finished, scratching his head nervously. Seeing that the girl wasn't saying anything, he looked at her and only saw Gwen looking at him even angrier, which made him squirm. Felicia. Seriously, out of so many people you slept with Felicia? I didn't remember you hating me so much, Gwen. A familiar voice sounded, just as the light in Naruto's room turned on, revealing the silver-haired girl lying on the blonde's bed. The girl was wearing her typical clothes, which she used to steal. The silver-haired girl jumped up and ended up in front of Gwen, who didn't take kindly to her. Are you still mad at me? He asked her, only to further anger the blonde, who tried to throw herself at the silver-haired girl, but was stopped by Naruto, who grabbed her from behind. Calm down, Gwen, he said to the girl, who looked at him angrily. But he still didn't let go. He knew that if he let her go, he would literally kill Felicita. Are you mad because I slept with your boyfriend? The silver-haired girl mocked. You're not helping, Felicia, he growled, trying to keep Gwen from hurting her, which wasn't easy. He had more physical strength than her, but that didn't mean he couldn't keep her from hurting her. Excellent. Gwen just growled, trying to get away from Naruto. While that was happening with the trio, a black distance came out of Naruto's watch until it touched Gwen and adhered to the blonde, who stopped moving, putting Naruto on alert. Gwen? The girl didn't respond as she was covered by the substance that Naruto recognized as what took over her suit. In a sudden movement, Naruto was hit by a red whip that Gwen had on the neck of her now black and white suit. Naruto, I'd better keep thinking it's a whip, he thought as he saw the red whip dripping a viscous liquid that Naruto knew as saline, disgusting the blonde. Getting serious, Naruto looked at Gwen's new form, which was a copy of his outfit but with a few changes. The outfit was black with white designs and a red whip sticking out of the neck of the outfit. Where the eyes were supposed to go, pure malice could be seen as the young woman's gaze turned towards Black Cat, who smiled mockingly at the girl. Naruto, oh you. Felicia, run. With the scream, everything started. Spider-Gwen launched herself at Felicia, who, by pure luck, managed to dodge her, but she sustained a cut on her cheek from the new claws of Gwen's suit, who looked at her with a great desire to kill her. It seems that you hate me. Because of your father or because of your boyfriend? She mocked the Spider-Girl again, who responded by launching herself at the Black Cat. A Spider-Man in his black and red suit managed to intercept Spider-Girl's attack, allowing Black Cat to escape through the balcony of Naruto's house. Gwen, stop. He tried to speak to the girl, but she only responded by scratching his mask. I'll take that as a no, he said, removing his damaged mask, revealing the cut on his cheek, which was already healing. Gwen, seeing that her target escaped, looked at Naruto in anger, and then raised her hand, which turned into a pointed blade. Oh you! She repeated, looking at the blade. Without waiting any longer, Gwen launched herself at Naruto, throwing slashes which Naruto dodged. Until a stab hit Naruto's forearm, drawing a grunt of pain from the blow. Okay, this will be harder, he whispered, pained by the recent stab wound he'd received. With a swift motion, Naruto kicked Gwen in the stomach, pushing her away from him, allowing the cut to begin to heal slowly but surely. Naruto, if you want to kill yourself, you'll have to do more than that. He mocked, but had to dodge the same blade but stretched out that pointed at his head, making him bend to dodge it. Now that I think about it, could I do that? He thought with doubt. Gwen was doing many things with that black mask that he had before. Maybe she could and never tried. He stopped thinking as he had to fight the Spider-Girl again, who seemed to want to kill him. Gwen, I'm not your enemy, he said, while receiving cuts from the sharp whips. He didn't know why, but his spider sense wasn't working. Maybe he was a fool, he estimated the blonde. When he estimated someone, his sense didn't work instantly, but he was sure it should because Gwen was being controlled, and the actions weren't hers. Grew. A grunt was the only thing that responded to Naruto, who began to think that it was not Gwen who was in command. Being distracted, Naruto could not dodge the blade of the right hand that pinned him to the wall, causing him to grunt in pain from being pierced in his left shoulder. Naruto tried to remove the blade from his shoulder but was stopped by a black tentacle that came out of Gwen's hand and stuck his masked face to it. When he thought he was going to die, he could see how Gwen's mask disappeared, showing that the girl changed a little. Under her eyes she had shadows, next to her eyes were black, and her hair also had a black base. Gwen approached Naruto to kiss him lovingly. The scene would be beautiful if it weren't for the fact that Naruto was pierced in the shoulder, and the girl had that black mass on her body. Don't move from here. You have nothing to do with this, she whispered in his ear before flying out the window where Black Cat came from. And her goal was very obvious. No longer holding the object that pierced him, Naruto fell from the wall, clutching his shoulder in pain. The wound was deep, piercing everything on the other side. It was also very close to his heart, and he was bleeding out. It was obvious he would die in a few minutes if he didn't do something, or at least that's how it would be if he weren't Naruto Uzumaki, the greatest genius in the world at only 19 years old. You shouldn't have left me like that, he whispered, reaching for something in his back pocket. From there, he pulled out a bottle of purple liquid, which he drank. Then, He shot a white web toward a shelf in the room where there were bandages and a first aid kit. Chapter 9 Naruto the Spider-Man. Where are you, Gwen? Spider-Man thought, looking across Metropolis from the tallest building in the city. It was already very late, and he had spent 4 hours searching for Gwen or Cat. Finding one of them would lead him to the other simply because one was escaping and the other was chasing, and at some point they would meet, making the job easier. But it was easier said than done. Neither woman had appeared in that time. Spider-Gwen was as silent as a ghost, and Black Cat was very cunning. One way or another, she would escape if caught, at least kill her. Naruto couldn't keep thinking as he had to block a damn car that flew towards him. When he was able to get rid of the car, he noticed who threw him was Spider-Gwen, who was already disappearing a great distance away. There they are, he thought as he jumped and let himself fall. Before hitting the ground, he stood up and started running. With a touch on the spider symbol, Naruto began to be covered by a red armor with blue marks all over it, forming an energy spider through the armor's ducts. Spider Fast activated. Jarvis's voice was heard at the same time that Naruto began to increase his speed considerably, becoming a blue ray that passed through the city at high speed, which was so much that it ran across the roofs so fast that gravity did not have time to act on the blonde. Spider-Man was speeding through Metropolis, and in less than 10 minutes, he'd already covered more than half of the city, but he still couldn't find either of the 2 girls he was looking for. Spider-Man was starting to get irritated. Those girls can't afford to let their stealth slip for even a second and still be seen. It seems the universe heard him, as he turned the corner he could see Spider-Gwen about to grab Black Cat, who was lying on the street with a broken foot. Bingo! He thought, so with his super speed he could grab Black Cat from Spider-Gwen, leaving the latter surprised for not seeing her prey where she was. Elsewhere. Spider-Man stopped a few feet away from Spider-Gwen, with Black Cat draped over his shoulders like a sack of potatoes. I always hoped you'd arrive. You always do everything quickly. Well, almost always, he whispered sensually. Spider-Man, you're being attacked by a superpowered person who wants to kill you, and you're thinking about how he had you in bed? You're really weird. Naruto was sweating for the girl. He was literally on the verge of dying, and all he could think about was his night with her. She was really crazy, like all the girls he'd met in his short life. Well, you're impossible to forget. He said mockingly, but he had to stop because Naruto could take her off his shoulder and put her in his arms in a quick motion. Don't do that, she shouted, surprised by the movement. It was so fast that her brain could barely notice it. You can't do anything about it. He laughed, but a bird dropping fell on his head. Okay, I won't do it again, he said, sweat dropping as he didn't finish his words and unleashed his power on her. Both would have continued playing, but Spider-Gwen appeared on the scene throwing a spider web towards Black Cat, managing to take the white-haired girl from Naruto's arms. What the hell? How can't the sense detect it? He thought, frustrated. Spider-Gwen had evaded his sense 3 times with this one, and that confused him. His sense can even go ahead in time because it is one of the best. He can foresee bullets before they are launched, or even thought of being launched. Just by imagining that you want to kill him, he is already alerted to everything and knows how the movement will be. But Spider-Gwen had evaded that more than 3 times easily, and it didn't seem like any power or anything from her. He stopped thinking about that to run after the masked blonde who seemed unwilling to stop. Gwen, stop! He tried to get her attention, but the girl easily ignored him and continued on her way, flying at high speeds. I didn't remember Gwen could fly. I'm sure my spider was the only one who could, he thought seriously, looking at Gwen. His mind was racing, trying to find an answer for that, until something came to his mind, making his eyes open in surprise. While thinking, Gwen ran away again, losing sight of the blonde, who growled in anger at losing the Spider-Woman again. You're really going to wait for me to say it, aren't you? I spoke to the girl and didn't hear a response, eliciting a tired sigh from her. Can you help me, Kara? Please? With that, in an instant, Supergirl, wearing her super suit, which he had built and given her, appeared before him. See, it wasn't that hard, she said with a smile, trying to annoy her ex-boyfriend. Annoying him was something she enjoyed, whether she was his friend or not, because it was fun to see his reaction. Whatever you say. He snorted in annoyance at being bothered again about having to ask for a favor. Now. You'll help me with this problem. Gwen will kill her if we take too long. Yes, I'm going to help you. Now let's go, before I kill her. She said to fly at high speed, followed closely by Naruto in his super speed armor. It was surprising for the Kryptonian to see that this armor gave him more speed even than her. That was surprising since she received powers from the sun while Naruto only did it with engineering and intelligence, and Stark products, something very surprising since not even Batman himself could create armor that gives him powers. Although in part it was because the Bat did not want powers, in another part it was also because creating armor that gives supernatural abilities was extremely difficult for Batman who, even though he was one of the most intelligent, was not the most intelligent in the world and did not have those capabilities. We're here, Kara said, looking toward an abandoned warehouse where she heard Gwen's slow heartbeat. The girl's heartbeat was so slow and calm that you could say she was calmer than a fish in a bucket. She didn't even look like she was about to kill anyone. Spider-Man, fine, you take Black Cat and I'll take Gwen. Supergirl, Black Cat? Isn't that the one you slept with? She asked, looking at Naruto, who sighed because this would only bring more distance between Kara and him. You heard it when I told Gwen, or when I was with Black Cat. Kara didn't respond, and instead looked away angrily, causing him to sigh at all the trouble that would come after this mission. I'll take it as both of us, let's get started, he said, running off, followed by Supergirl flying away. Inside the warehouse. Are you thinking of killing yourself? Asked Black Cat, tied by her arms and feet with black spider webs that weren't easy to cut with her metal claws. She really hoped Naruto found her before this crazy woman started whatever she wanted to do to her. How are you going to kill me? Rope? Acid? Lava? Gasoline? Or by hitting her? She asked, looking at Gwen, who didn't respond. She mentioned all that because in this village there was everything: gasoline, acid, rope, lava. It was cold, but the high-powered oven would heat it up in seconds. You're not very talkative, she said. And this time she did get Spider-Gwen's gaze, who just turned her back on her. The girl seemed to be doing something with chemicals that didn't seem right to her. Open your mouth, Spider-Gwen said shamelessly as she grabbed Black Cat's face, who growled in annoyance at the woman's gesture. Ignoring the girl's glare, Spider-Gwen forced Black Cat to take the potion. When she finished, Black Cat coughed heavily from the taste of the potion. Black Cat, what the hell is that? He said, coughing because of the bad taste that the potion left in his mouth. We'll cancel your good luck for 10 minutes. Enough part you don't get out of this with your power to give me bad luck and make any way I used to kill you go wrong. This surprised Black Cat and caused her to become deeply concerned. It was the first time in her life that she didn't have her power to alter the odds in her favor. She didn't know what could happen to her, and she didn't want to find out now, with this crazy woman trying to kill her. Before Spider-Gwen could do anything to Black Cat, Supergirl flew by at high speed and grabbed Black Cat. Spider-Gwen couldn't react when, also at high speed, Naruto hit her, sending her into a group of cardboard boxes filled with metal bars. Take her away while I deal with Gwen. Supergirl took off to fly out of the warehouse, leaving Naruto and Gwen alone, who easily got out of the boxes without any apparent harm. Come on, say something. I heard when you talked to Black Cat, or are you so mad at me that you can't talk to me? The response was that the black mass emerged from half of Gwen's face, revealing her very gloomy expression. Get out of my way. Naruto, until you finally speak, I was beginning to think this wasn't working because the problem was me, not you, he. Couldn't finish his joke when Spider-Gwen's red whips came out to attack him at full speed. Due to his lack of spider sense, he couldn't dodge the attack, receiving a cut on the armor's right foot, rendering it useless, and the other was barely deflected. She wants to disable my suit, he thought as he began to run at full speed around Gwen, who seemed confused because she couldn't see where he was going to attack. Naruto was trying to find a spot where the spider sense couldn't react, but an announcement interrupted his concentration. Damaged suit bug on right thigh, speed reduction by 23%. This can only be a joke, like a tongue can damage a suit made of the hardest metal in the world. he said, annoyed. Until he remembered again that the whip was actually a tongue, and he felt like throwing up. He really wanted to get that out of his mind. Being bewildered, Naruto barely dodged the stab Spider-Gwen sent to his chest. Launching into the attack, Naruto began sending out combos of blows that the girl skillfully blocked and returned. Spider Sense was an op power. Reacting to attacks with speed equal to or greater than lightning was astonishing and something very few could do. Slowly in the battle, Naruto was regaining the advantage, landing many blows on Gwen, who couldn't react because of Naruto's increased speed, going from 16% light speed, 2,771 Mach, to 19% light speed, 3,097 Mach. The blonde was literally landing every blow, not missing a single one, and Spider-Gwen seemed to be getting tired, to the point of falling to the ground. "Sorry about this," Naruto said, hitting Spider-Gwen, sending her out of the abandoned warehouse. Without giving a break, Naruto attacked Spider-Gwen again with a blow to the chest, but was blocked by the black mass that wrapped around his arm, surprising him. No, you're not coming back," he growled, using his super speed and vibrating his arm, causing slight sparks of electricity to appear, causing the black mass to move away from him and leave Spider-Gwen's arm. But with time it covered Gwen again, returning to its previous state. "Did the vibration leave me?" he asked himself, but then denied. He had vibrated many times when he had venom in this suit during his tests, and it never separated. Naruto, so what caused it to move away? He thought, and in that moment he remembered what happened after vibrating. Synthetic energy. He smiled when he discovered the weakness of the black table. With that in his hand, his mind went to work at high speed, and in less than 0.9 seconds, he already had a distraction and a plan on how to get the black mass out of Spider-Gwen. He only needed the materials that were his own body, and the metal bars inside the abandoned warehouse where Spider-Gwen crashed a few minutes ago. "Let's begin," he said, first preparing his distraction against Gwen. He stopped moving and began to vibrate, allowing two versions of himself, also vibrating, to come out and begin attacking Gwen at high speed. He took advantage of that only free second and went to look for the metal bars. He quickly grabbed several bars and returned at high speed to where Gwen had already finished off her clones, which, with just being touched, would disappear, basically being rewound from where they were. "Spider Fast Armor deactivated for your safety. Use prohibited for 10 hours, it's your break from your watch. You've already lost 2 hours of sleep, and you have to go to university in less than 6 hours. I know, Jarvis. I just need to finish this and I'll go to sleep." He spoke with a drop of sweat. Before dying from the arc reactor, his Uncle Tony programmed Jarvis and the other 3 artificial intelligences to act as housewives, something very useful and embarrassing at the same time. "I just need to put on some armor and I'll finish all this." Jarvis didn't speak, but he disassembled the spider fast and reassembled another armor that began to cover him all over his body. The armor was metallic black with some light reflections. The spider symbol became larger than the one on the normal suit but smaller than the speed suit. It also had a golden color like the eyes. "Jarvis, electric spider activated." "Thanks, Jarvis," he thought as he took the metal bars and looked at Gwen, who was looking at him seriously. It was certain time for her to jump on him to kill him. They both stared at each other intensely, waiting for one of them to make their first move. It looked like a duel from the Old West. Both of them didn't move and just looked at the other with defiance. The first to move was Naruto, who threw a bar at Gwen which destroyed her in one hit, but she couldn't dodge the golden rays that were heading towards her, being hit head-on, causing the black mass to twist in Gwen's body, her weakness doing much more damage than it would normally. Taking advantage of the fact that Spider-Gwen wasn't moving, he began to drive the bars around her, surrounding her with metal, which would amplify his terrible attack. It seemed the mass realized his idea, as it began to leave Gwen's body and begin crawling toward an exit from the circle of bars. Seeing this, the blonde hit the bar to scare the mass, but to his surprise, the mass contracted at the sound of the bar colliding with another. "Is it also weak to sound?" "No," he denied, remembering that he listened to music many times and the monster never acted or gave any indication. "Perhaps it is weak to a certain vibration, or it is so weak to electricity that the magnetic fields of strong sounds affect it. It doesn't matter, both weaknesses will be exploited to the fullest," he said, hitting the bars again, causing the mass to contract again. Now I know, take her! She shouted while throwing a large beam towards the mass. Before the beam collided with Gwen, Supergirl grabbed Spider-Gwen in a quick movement, moving away from the huge explosion that happened after her movement. When the explosion stopped, Naruto approached the place where the mass was slowly. Until suddenly the mass jumped towards him, trying to adhere to the blonde who was fighting against the thing. And in a final movement he electrocuted himself, causing the mass to leave his body and end up on the ground with slight spasms of electricity running through his slimy body. I got it, Kara said, placing the mass into a gas tank. If the mass tried to escape, it could easily be stopped with a light tap on the gas tank. Fine, said Naruto, lying on the floor. He changed his kinetic energy beams for real beams, making his own body unable to withstand them. Maybe he must have a totally charred part, but it doesn't matter, he can heal in a few days. He literally healed from being completely burned in a fire, leaving his skinless and his flesh roasted. It only took him 3 days to heal all his skin and flesh and 5 days to return to action and save people, although a week later he went through something similar again, but in this case it doesn't matter. We'd better go. The police are about to come, and Gwen isn't wearing her mask, Kara said, listening to the sirens a few miles away. Dash. I can hear them too, he said, struggling to stand up, but his suit began to fail, sending an electric shock to his body, causing him to fall to the ground as his suit shut down. Don't worry, it couldn't be any later. Jarvis, are you listening to me? SS strong and CLA clear, young Naruto, the artificial intelligence said haltingly. Reboots the operating system and fixes the suit, also restarts the Arc 2 reactor, while deactivating this armor. You sure, young man? She said again, haltingly, but she still made the armor disappear and everything from before started. In Naruto's perspective, the suit turned on and showed the usual holograms again, which are normally deactivated, but when it restarted, they returned. We can go now, he said as he floated next to Supergirl as the sirens increased their volume. They had to be about half a mile away from them at this point. They both flew away, leaving the place deserted for the city authorities. Let's go to my house, he said, flying off to Stark Tower, followed by Supergirl with Gwen in the black mass in her hands. This was nothing to her, so she could easily keep up with Naruto's Mach 1 pace. Chapter 10 Naruto the Spider-Man. Moments later. You can see Naruto, who had his superhero costume on but without the mask, revealing his crimson eyes inside those white eggs. Next to him was Kara, who also had her superhero costume on. How are you? Naruto asked. Kara, okay, she's still unconscious and won't wake up until late, she might even miss college. Naruto leaned forward to look at the rising sun again, giving off a reddish view with a bit of orange, an incredible view that Naruto really liked. You shouldn't sleep, in a few minutes it will be 7 o'clock, Naruto said without looking at the Supergirl. Kara, I don't need it, as long as the sun shines I can be fine. The sun, huh? I'm still interested in how your body works with the sun, he said, watching the stars shine in the distance, slowly illuminating the city in the distance, a grand sight. Kara, you'll keep dreaming. The blonde snorted as she flew away, leaving Naruto alone. She's really mad at me, but oh well, I deserve it, he said to no one in particular. The blonde just sighed as he re-entered the house, seeing Gwen in her bed sleeping next to Black Cat, who had also gone to sleep. He spent many hours escaping from Gwen, so it's normal that she's tired. He's doing very well because of his stamina, which not everyone has. He continued his way to the elevator to enter, and going down to the floor below his warehouse, he entered a room with many cabins where there were tools and technology for research and creation of different metal alloys, joining and experimenting with the different ones they already have. In a few booths were the sticky substances that mysteriously arrived along with the one that weighed him and Gwen down. He approached the booth of the black substance that was trying to escape by climbing the walls. Not caring, Naruto pressed a button on his wrist bracelet, causing a peculiar sound to be heard inside, collapsing the black stickiness. I know I can talk, or at least think, so I want you to explain to me why you're here and why you possess me. The viscosity didn't respond, it just kept trying to escape from the capsule, causing Naruto to make that particular noise again, knocking down the black viscosity again. I have 1 hour to go, And at least I want that hour to be listening to this horrible sound. I want you to show yourself right now. Seeing that the slimy mass wasn't paying attention, he went to press the button on his forearm. Wait! The bisivorous substance shouted, popping out a semi-formed head with white eyes and a mouth full of fangs, along with a tongue that disgusted Naruto, because that must have been the tongue Gwen had used to squeeze him so many times. I'm going to talk, dog, don't turn that damn thing on. Okay. First, why did you come to my house? My home planet was destroyed, so we came with a ship from our planet. Naruto, good. Now, why did you take my body? I needed a carrier to rest on. Otherwise, I would have died. And that's why you had to possess me and tempt me to do all that, he said angrily, looking seriously at the black mass. Hey, that was your fault. Mia? Yeah, when you joined me was when I changed. I even got this haircut, and I liked my other cut. My race achieves the goals of its users. We also only enhanced the feelings already in place. I fed off that heroism you had and enhanced that anger you felt from all the pressure you were under at the time. Naruto, I never had tantrums, they were just a few annoyances, he said, crossing his shoulders in annoyance. And they only got a little stronger on my part, so you planted the seed of the malar yerba and I accelerated its growth, making it impossible to pull it out in time. Naruto, that saying is too long, better to leave it as if I planted the seed and you accelerated it, so it sounds better, he said with a drop. That doesn't matter, now get me out of here, ordered the darkest one. I won't, at least not until I'm sure it's true. In the meantime, I can set you free. But don't worry, you'll only last a few hours while I go to college. And don't try to escape. If you get out of that box, the whole room will ring, and you might die, he said, walking toward the door. Wait, before you left, what happened to the others who came with me? Naruto stopped, remembering the other masses that were on the other side of the room, motionless, even though Jarvis still felt life in them, and they weren't responding to anything. They're there, but they're not doing anything even though they're alive. Masa, they haven't been in a hospital, it's obvious they're still in a coma, said Masa, who seemed calmer knowing the others were okay, which made Naruto interested. Friends? Family, strange but family, the mass responded. Okay, before I go, I want to know what you guys eat, so I can program Jarvis to feed you every so often. The Essentio mass thought. Anything with phenylethylamine will do. Phenylethylamine? That's only found in chocolates and brains, he thought, alert. If the black mass only ate that, he'd have to be careful. Okay, I'll tell Jarvis to get you some chocolates, he said, leaving. As he left the mass room, Naruto touched a button on his forearm again. Jarvis, I want you to gather all the chocolates from the nearest stores and extract the phenylethylamine from them, so we can analyze them later. Jarvis, understanding young Naruto. Your aunt said she was going out to a company meeting. She hoped you weren't late, and that Miss Karen didn't miss school again. Naruto hesitated a bit. His almost cousin was very lazy and didn't like going to school, so she took advantage of that opportunity to be creating armor or something like Uncle Tony used to do, something that the girl got from Stark. It's okay, Jarvis, she said as she left, forgetting that she had left two mortal enemies sleeping together in her bed, and when one wakes up, she'll kill the other. Nothing can go wrong. Later. What's wrong? Kiba asked, seeing Naruto resting his head on the dining room table. It seemed the blonde hadn't had a good morning, or even a good afternoon. Kara's still mad at me, and I already know what to do to make her forgive me, he said with a sad puppy face, looking at Kiba, who was sweating a drop because of the blonde's drama. It's not that bad, said Shikamaru, sitting next to Naruto with his typical lazy face. For Naruto, he was just exaggerating things. Besides, the problematic blonde would forgive him sooner or later. She never saw someone angry with Naruto for more than a month. The boy was very hard to hate. Kiba, Shikamaru is right, you're just exaggerating the The dog cut short what he was about to say when he saw Naruto's cell phone. The blonde had greeted her that day, and she only gave him 3 points. Little dots, that clearly meant she left him on read, and that spoke volumes about her anger with Parker. I think this is more serious than I thought. Beside him, Rock Lee Asensio sees the same thing as Dog Boy. That response from an ex is the last thing a guy wants to see when you're trying to get back with her. The chances of salvation are very low. Niji, you read too, I just ignore it, you're the ones making this worse. Kiba, you don't know about girls, Niji, you haven't had as many as I have. Inuzuka said, looking at the Hyuga, who only grunted because those words reminded him of something. Just because you went out with my cousin doesn't mean you're already a hunk, besides I'm already done with you. Niji said mockingly, looking at Kiba, who just snorted. I broke up because I liked Supergirl's picture, but who wouldn't? That skirt looked really good on her, it made her look more feminine, she said, remembering the superheroine's old outfit, not noticing Naruto's death glare at her side. Naruto, I think we've strayed from the main topic. We were talking about how to make Kara forgive me, not Supergirl, he said, looking seriously at Kiba, who raised an eyebrow at his friend's look. Naruto is right, as our friend we must help him, said the excited boy in a white shirt and black pants like everyone else at the university, only unlike his friends he did have the buttons on his shirt allowing us to see his green t-shirt. Kiba, I think I have an idea, in which me and Naruto win. With that, he earned Naruto's gaze, who smiled. Sure, just don't make it too big. Of course not. Later. Naruto, I told you not to do it on a large scale, said Naruto Mernacti as Kiba led him into the office after tricking the director into leaving the office, leaving the door open to use the loudspeakers. Don't worry, it'll only take a few minutes. And we'll just sing the song we practiced. We've only been practicing it for 20 minutes. Can't you wait until I've learned it? I don't care, Kiba said, seating Naruto in the principal's chair. Fine, you know what your parts are. He pulled out a small speaker with a theme song and turned on the microphone for the entire school. In Kara class. The entire class could be seen confused by the sound that began to play. In the middle, Kara was surprised because she'd heard that tone before. Barrio always hummed it along with Kiba because it was a rhythm they both created for some song they never finished. What are you doing, idiot? With Naruto and Kiba. Okay, I'll start and then you. Naruto, sigh, I just hope it works. Song Ozuna and Romeo. Frasante remix. When they finished singing, most of the school screamed because this was obviously an attempt to win back one of the prettiest girls in school from the father of one of the most desired boys in the school. Meanwhile, both Naruto and Kiba were caught by the teachers who managed to open the door after a few minutes. I hope it's worth it, otherwise I'll hit you more than you can take, Naruto said to Kiba, who gave a drop. Kiba, stop complaining, you're not going to get expelled for breaking a single rule this whole year either. Naruto just snorted, he didn't want to damage her perfect behavior, he only did it because it was for Kara, apart from Gwen and other corrupt people he would never do it again. After that, both were taken by the teachers, until they arrived near the classrooms where most of the students were. When they saw Naruto and Kiba, they began to applaud and whistle while in front of Naruto. Kara looked at him with a smile that the blonde copied. The girl approached the blonde detainee and gave him a small kiss, which only started even more applause around, while Kiba just whistled to see that his plan had worked. He just hoped something similar would happen with him. Thank you, said Naruto looking at Kara, who smiled. After that, the teachers took Naruto and Kiba, leaving Gwen behind, who was smiling to see what the blonde did for her, while a little behind Mary Yen was watching everything seriously. The redhead just snorted, full of jealousy, to walk towards her classroom. With Naruto and Kiba. Do you know what they did? He asked Naruto and Kiba, who were sitting in front of him. Naruto, I don't know, but it worked, so it's okay, he answered calmly. It worked, so he doesn't care so much about the consequences. Besides, it's not that serious. Well, what we did would only earn us about 2 months of inspection and maybe a warning, but that would be too extreme. Principal, thoughts these young geniuses now. They all know what you'll say and do. There's no way to scare them. The principal thought tiredly. You're right, young Parker Uzumaki. There's no time limit and the expulsion will only last for a week. I just ask that you don't do it again. Especially not you, Mr. Inuzuka. Although your grades are very good, your attendance and behavior don't help you much. Kiba just huffed, barely giving a lecture to a teacher who was bothering him with his marks and who was a delinquent because of that tattoo. The idiot seems to have never heard of birthmarks from ancient Japan. I assure you that if you make fun of my family again, the next thing I throw at you will be a house, he said angrily for remembering the idiot. The idiot was lucky that he didn't transform, or he would have dismembered him. I understand, young Inuzuka. But you shouldn't hit the masters. I know, he said angrily. Director, at least they're not rebellious like the young people of the past. I thought with a hint of emotion. That's it. Or do you have any questions? Naruto, yes, because we are in the cafeteria. Director, on the subject. No, the blonde denied with a drop. Okay, we're done, you can leave. Naruto and Kiba nodded to leave the cafeteria, and at the door they exchanged high fives. I told you it was going to work, Kiba laughed. Don't doubt yourself. He accompanied his companion, putting his arm around the Inuzuka's neck and leaving the room together like good friends. Chapter 11 Naruto the Spider-Man. But later. The blonde could be seen arriving home from college. He had only just been expelled for a week along with his friend Kiba, who didn't seem too upset. I just hope Aunt May doesn't get upset, he thought. Entering his apartment in Starkey Tower, he saw something he hadn't expected. Sitting on the furniture in his room were Gwen and Felicia. Although they weren't talking, they weren't killing each other, which was what he thought was happening. Wow, Superman turned villain and I didn't even notice, he joked, making himself noticed by both girls. Felicia, she passed by your friend and was about to pass by you, she said, earning a grunt from Gwen. Gwen, don't put me in your mouth. Oh? I don't remember needing your permission. Kidnapper, she said, teasing Gwen, who was about to attack her. But she was stopped by Naruto's web. It was so good, she thought, slapping her face with her hand. These two getting along will be impossible for several reasons. At least they can't attack each other. My aunt will be here any moment to take care of some things. If she sees them killing each other, she'll kill me. Aunt May, Naruto? And here it comes. Hello, Aunt May. He greeted his aunt, who looked at him doubtfully. Shouldn't you be in college? He asked, causing Gwen and Felicia to look at him, playing this now. Damn, he thought nervously. He'd forgotten he'd been expelled for a week. His aunt must be furious with him. Well, I got expelled from college, he confessed, scratching his head. May, are you kidding? Naruto, hee. I wish it were that. Gwen, what stupid things did you do? In my defense, Kiba forced me, she said, earning a stern look from her aunt. Kiba and I sang a song. May, and what else? We sang the song in the principal's office. But later. Naruto could be seen lying on his bed while he had his laptop on a group video call with Shikamaru, Sasuke, Kiba, Neji, Rock Lee, a beautiful blonde with a ponytail and bangs in front, a big-boned boy with brown hair, and finally a pink-haired girl with long hair. The beautiful blonde was Ino Yamanaka, the one with the big bones was Chuji, and the other was Sakura Haruno. Ino was one of the most popular girls at the university, along with Kara, Gwen, and Mary Yen. Chuji was Naruto's friend and the boys. While Sakura, although not one of the most beautiful girls, was one who stood out for her very high intelligence in classes and in medicine, even being assistants in the infirmary from time to time. Shikamaru, so they punished both of them? Naruto, yes. I can't even go out or go to any Star company for more than a month, so the trip to Japan will have to be postponed, he said boredly. His aunt also forbade him from going to her suit warehouse. Although she didn't know what he did in the warehouse, she knew it had to do with robotics, and that's why she forbade him. Ino, you had a trip to Japan and didn't invite me? Kiba, it was just for guys. Something like just between friends. Sakura, they could have told us, thus victimizing my parents. Naruto, are you from Japan? Obviously, idiot. Didn't the name say it? Sasuke, Ino's name is Yamanaka and she's not from Japan. Ino, and when did I say no? Naruto, someone else who's from Japan. Everyone raised their hands, making Naruto's sweat drop. I don't know why, but I expected it, he said, looking at Chuji. He was the last person he expected to be from Japan, especially because of his open and friendly nature, which almost no one in Japan is. Since we're all from Japan, shouldn't we all make the trip? Naruto, sure, why not? He said, shrugging. He had no problem with Sakura and Chuji accompanying them. Shikamaru, troublemaker. A troublesome blonde and pinky. Excuse me? What do you mean by problematic? She said, offended by what her friend called her. Chuji, guys, don't fight. He tried to calm the fight between his two childhood friends. Sasuke, I still don't know why I'm friends with them. They're all idiots. He said as if he were an emo guy getting a drop from everyone. Naruto, you complain too much, you fear. Sakura, Naruto. Don't say that to Sasuke. Naruto, I never mentioned your name, bubblegum hair. Sorry. Before the pinkette could start yelling at him, he blocked the sound of her contact, rendering it completely inaudible, and it seemed the others did the same. I don't even know how you can stand her, Shikamaru said, watching Sakura still yell nonsense. Naruto agreed with the slacker. Don't get him wrong, she was his friend, but that didn't mean he'd listen to every idiot he said every time. He even made fun of Sasuke. Tell me about it. When a girl even talks about Sasuke, her jealousy kicks in, and she's not even his partner. She said, laughing a little as she remembered the times Sakura exploded in fury when a girl talked about Uchiha. Kiba, now that you mention it, how did your date with Sakura go? I asked the Uchiha, who sighed. Not good at all. She seemed more like she was crazy about me than she was interested, so I turned her down. I won't be with a girl who throws away her dignity for a man who barely looks at her, she said, eating from her bag of chips. The group remained in an awkward silence because Uchiha basically told them that Sakura was more obsessed with him than in love. To break the awkward silence, Naruto decided to speak. So, Kiba, how did it go with Hinata? What did you think of the song? Upon hearing the question, Kiba just snorted angrily. Hinata just missed class today, so I can't hear her, he said, a little angrily because he had no luck. Niji, if you had asked, I would have told you. Kiba just growled. It was so obvious, and yet he didn't do it, so he deserved to be expelled and grounded by his mother for nothing. Don't be mad, dog boy. I got him the song. Looks like he'll consider coming back with you, said, making Kiba smile. He'd ignore the dog part for now. Naruto, I still don't understand your relationship with Hinata, although she seems very calm and shy. Sometimes I see her as a perverted, toxic, jealous, and exaggerated. That's right, the blonde said. Kiba, that's how we love each other. Besides, jealous is better. Naruto, you have questionable tastes, but as long as you don't like being hit, it's all good, he said jokingly, causing a shiver to run down the Inuzuka's spine. If I ever have those tastes, I'll ask to be taken to a psychologist, she said with disgust. She'll never understand why men like being hit during hex. Not even a woman should like that. Is it only me who notices that Sakura keeps screaming? The emo Uchiha asked, seeing that, indeed, the pinkette was still screaming nonsense, making Ino sigh in exhaustion. Excuse her, she's a good friend. When she's not listening to Sasuke, she said, tired because this isn't the first time Sakura has screamed for hours when someone insults Uchiha. Chuji, don't worry, Ino. We're used to it, said the pants-son with a friendly smile. Naruto, yeah, since when? Elementary school? High school? Shikamaru, playgrounds. Yes, Sakura was in love with Sasuke ever since. I still remember how he would yell at me every time I said I was better than him at something, she said, remembering those times. Sasuke, you were always better at the physical body aspect, but in class the best was unquestionably Shikamaru. Naruto, yes, but it always happened with only sevens. What was the excuse? Like this. How annoying, I don't want to do more than necessary, he said, speaking like the Nara. What a pain, was the only thing the angry bum said, making everyone laugh. That's how the night went, with Naruto and his friends talking, joking, and having fun like they hadn't in a long time. Naruto was listening to his friends reminiscing about the playground and old memories from kindergarten and elementary school, while he just laughed. Until he heard someone calling him from his balcony. "Guys, someone's calling me. I'll call you back later," he said, getting off the call as he stood up to walk toward the balcony. When he stepped out, he didn't see anyone. What the hell? He couldn't finish when his senses went beeping, causing him to dodge a black object sticking to the ceiling. "I knew it," he said, looking over Naruto. When he looked over, he found none other than Batman, the Dark Knight of Gotham City, looking at him seriously. "Naruto, so this was meant to uncover my identity? Good for you, now get out of my house or I'll call the police," he said, climbing down the wall to look at the man of the night who didn't seem to flinch. "Batman, you don't seem to care if I find out," he said seriously. "I don't care. I have more information about you, Bruce Wayne. Or about the Robins, Hick Grayson, Jason Topp, Tim Draken, and I even know someone you don't even know," he said, making Batman serious. "What are you talking about?" he asked seriously, about to take a bastard out of his seatbelt. "Naruto, you have a son whose existence has been hidden from you." Batman was shocked by the boy's words. If it weren't for the fact that he said it with such confidence, he wouldn't have believed him. But the young arachnid seemed so convinced that it was true that even he was seriously considering it. "This isn't a joke, kid." "I'm not joking," he said seriously. "I can tell you her name if you want. I can even tell you where she is and who her mother is." "Batman, what do you want in return?" I asked seriously, knowing the boy wasn't giving this away for free. "Naruto, stop investigating Ghost Spider. I have access to information from all over the planet, and I'll know if you try to break into Metropolis's archives to look for a similar girl. If you comply, you'll have your child and even weaken an enemy," he said, extending his hand to Batman, who shook it without hesitation. "Batman, okay, now tell me where she is and who her mother is." "Naruto, where is this not possible? The location is not recognizable on any map. But if mother, you must know it well, Talia al Ghul." That name surprised Batman even more, and now he came to put the puzzle together. A few years ago she had kidnapped and raped him whenever she wanted for a week, in which she managed to escape. But it seemed that she didn't just want Hex, but something more, and now he discovered it. The Al Ghul wanted to have his child. "Batman, give me the location, quick. I'm serious." "I said it's not recognizable, so I'll take you there," he said, activating his wrist suit, causing the nanobots to work their magic in seconds. "Okay, let's go. My aunt is coming to check if I'm sleeping in 2 hours," he said, jumping off his balcony and swinging. Batman followed him as best he could, though, since he wasn't as agile as he was. "Batman, I have a question for you." "Spider-Man, say." "Batman, when did you find out he had a son?" "Naruto, 3 years ago, my aunt saved Talia. From there they became friends and I met the boy when she found out about my secret identity. She promised not to tell my aunt, and after a while she took me to meet little Damien." "How did you find out about my identity?" "I have access to a lot of information, and Bruce Wayne's is no exception, so just compare your face with that of the humans on Earth, and Bruce Wayne appeared with 93% and Clark Kent with 42%. Batman thought for a few seconds before realizing. He must know the identities of the entire Justice League. I need to be more careful with him. He seems more dangerous than I thought. But later, Spider-Man and Batman could be seen in a forest far from Metropolis without any roads or cities for miles around. Batman could say for sure that this place was nothing more than a forest, but knowing what Ra's al Ghul was like, he had no doubt that he was hiding here. "Spider-Man, it's there," he said, pointing to an entrance covered in rocks. "The boy's name is Damian Wayne, black hair very similar to you. He's only 8 years old, and he's a vicious little ball of hate. It should be easy for us to find him among so many murderers." "Batman, us? I'm thinking of going in. I have something to look for, so I'll help you while I find what I need." Batman didn't respond, but even so, he just disappeared and went inside the door, then opened it with a cipher-breaking device. Both guards silently made their way through the halls until Naruto felt a tickle. "Guard to the right, 3 seconds. Understanding, Batman counted to 3 and then launched a kick down the right corridor, knocking out a guard who fell unconscious. Can your sense also predict the future? Future threats, he replied, leaping onto the roof and crawling across it like a spider. I'm the eyes and you're the punches. I'll tell you when a guard on the left is 6 seconds away. Batman knocked the guard unconscious again, then hit him and continued on his way until they reached a giant door. I'll take care of it, Batman said, placing his device on the keyhole, decoding it. Batman was going to open the door, but suddenly Naruto felt his sense activate, going to stop the Batman, but it was too late since Batman opened the gem door, revealing thousands of soldiers looking at them. If you waited, this would never happen, he said as both guards were filled with red lasers. I'm the one and only amazing Spider-Man friend. If you want autographs, just get in line. As he said that, the shots began, causing both superheroes to take cover on either side of the door. It seems you're not my fans, too bad, but hey, I can still give them what I give my villains, he said, readying a web shooter. We don't kill, he said seriously, looking at the device on the arachnid's wrists. Don't worry, this is just like a regular spider bite, worse combined with the antidote. It causes the venom to take effect for a few seconds. With that, Spider-Man leapt forward, launching something resembling a bee sting, causing many soldiers to fall. Batman followed suit, launching his sting at the soldiers, knocking their weapons out and taking advantage of the opportunity to strike them. In a second, they both easily dispatched the soldiers, so they secretly continued on their way. You know they discovered us, right? Batman, yeah? Spider-Man, and also that in the next room will probably be Swiss cheese? Batman, just follow me. How boring. I snorted, annoyed. At that moment they arrived at the great door, where behind it stood Ra's al Ghul with his best assassins armed and ready to finish off the vigilante heroes who entered his lair. Raz, kill him as quickly as you can, we don't need anything from them, he ordered his soldiers. Naruto, they're going to kill us without even capturing us, he told Batman what essentio. With that, he used his device again to remove the password. As the door opened, it was just as the assassins expected. Bullets began to rain down as the shadows at the door were riddled with bullets. Seeing that enough was enough, Ra's al Ghul raised his hand, making a brains out in the fire. Free of the bullets, the shadows fell to the ground, bringing a smile to the face of the leader of the League of Assassins. Raz approached the two corpses with a victorious smile, until, upon seeing the corpses, he only saw 2 inflatable dolls shaped like Superman and Green Lantern. Damn them, he said angrily, until he heard something coming out of the Superman doll, and upon removing the S symbol, he saw a circular time bomb that had 2 seconds left. CA. Boom! With Spider-Man and Batman. Batman, are you sure they won't die? Not so much, but at least one of them should survive, he said nonchalantly, earning Batman a look. What? You want me to worry about them? Let's not worry, just don't. Spider-Man, we kill? I don't care about your code. We don't decide if they die, we are not gods. Spider-Man, I don't need to be God to do what needs to be done. To me, I'm just a person willing to do anything to protect the city. Batman, you're doing it the wrong way. No, I do it my way. And I'll keep doing it no matter what. I'm you. And I'm keeping that lame clown away, because the moment he attacks Metropolis, I'll shoot him, he said, looking seriously at the Gotham man. Batman, you talk a lot to keep all your villains alive. Spider-Man, you can see how many victims my villains have and how many deaths they've had since they appeared, he said, and with a touch of his wrist a hologram of Dr. Octopus appeared. Dr. Octopus. 152 injured, 0 fatally injured, 205 attacks on Spider-Man, 1 accidental death. Vulture. 76 injured, 12 fatally injured, 187 attacks on Spider-Man, 1 deliberate death. Mystery. 34 injured, 0 fatally injured, 403 attacks on Spider-Man, 3 deaths, 2 accidental and 1 deliberate. Rhino. 172 injured, 32 fatally injured, 60 attacks on Spider-Man, 12 attacks on the city. 8 dead. 3 accidental and 5 deliberate. Electro. 28 injured, 23 fatally injured, 157 attempts on Spider-Man, 200 attempted bank robberies, 6 accidental deaths. Sandman. 29 wounded, 12 fatally wounded, 89 attempts on Spider-Man, 0 dead. Captive and redeemed, he repented and surrendered voluntarily. Batman looked surprised. Your villains are a little bad? Yes, I know. I always try to keep them focused on me. It also helps to keep them busy with other things. Batman, that doesn't change the fact that you shouldn't kill. Naruto, you don't give me orders. Besides, I only kill those who can be cured, those who have already been treated in various ways, like what happened a week ago with the Green Goblin. So you killed him, and it wasn't an accident. Both. He threatened me with a loved one, so out of anger I killed him. Besides, he was beyond help. More than 200 psychologists gave him up for lost. Batman, like those. Spider-Man, I hired them. I made sure to hire psychologists for the crazy ones, and for the thieves, I paid for a teacher in a good profession so they could study, and when they get out, they could start their lives over. All like Naruto Parker. Many even helped in my future company, and thanks to them, Stark's wealth has been at its peak since the company was created. Batman said nothing. With his wealth, he helped orphans, the poor, and even paid for the League's damages. But he never thought of doing what the boy did. Not just arresting them or funding their imprisonment, but helping them become better off when they get out. We're here, he said, looking at the door where the sun should be. With that, he tapped his watch twice, causing a red suit to cover him. The suit was red with a black spider, and the mask's lenses were the same color. What was different were the 2 swords on his back and 2 pistols on each thigh. Are you thinking of killing them? Spider-Man, only Ra's al Ghul. The others, it will depend on how much they interfere, he said, grabbing his swords. Pushing open the door, Naruto could see a black-haired boy, just as he had calculated before. This was Damian Algal Wayne, the son of the Dark Knight, and the grandson of the leader of the League of Assassins. Beside the boy was a dark-haired woman both heroes knew well, Talia al Ghul, daughter of Ra's al Ghul. The woman was playing with the boy, which surprised Batman to see how the assassin was training the child. He expected more knives and guns. Spider-Man, Talia, I'm here, he said, looking at the woman, who turned around and smiled, until she noticed Batman and frowned. I know what you're going to say, he said, stopping the brunette. But I had to know, at least see it once. Talia, he doesn't need to know, not once, not ever. He's my son, and he has nothing to do with it. Batman didn't say anything. Until he felt his cape being lifted and looked down to see Damian in the cape mimicking his position as if he were Batman. Seeing this, Spider-Man jumped up laughing, seeing the mini Batman unwittingly copy his father. Look, Uncle Naruto. I'm Batman, he said, copying Batman, who didn't flinch. Naruto just laughed himself silly and took off his mask, looking at the boy. Naruto, yeah, you look exactly the same. But being Spider-Man is better, he said as he put the mask on the boy, and by pressing a button, the mask fit the boy's face, fitting into his shape. Batman, Uncle Naruto? He thought with a bit of jealousy watching Naruto play with little Damian. Naruto, hey. Do you want to know something spectacular? I asked, encouraging the boy. What would you think if Batman was your father? Damian thought for a few seconds. I don't know. Batman is my favorite hero in the whole world. But he fights with Mom and it really pisses me off. But if he were my dad, I'd love him. The words brought a small, tiny smile to the Batman's face. Naruto just smiled. He admired Batman a little for his way of seeing the world, and while he didn't like the way he let maniacs like the Joker loose, he still respected him, and helping him a little with his son wouldn't be a problem. Talia, okay, let's go. My dad will be here soon. Batman, fine, what do I do with him? He said, pointing at Damian, who was still imitating him, and remained inside his super large cape. Naruto unholstered his pistols and prepared them to shoot at anyone who appeared in his field of vision. He's your son. Pick him up and take him. We'll take care of the guards. he said, confusing Batman. Suddenly, he had to catch a backpack full of children's things that was thrown by Talia, who was carrying a highly equipped M16. Spider-Man, Talia and I are in front, and you're in the back, he said, loading his weapons next to the assassin while the boy just watched with a smile, not understanding what was happening. Batman, they shouldn't show those weapons in front of him. Both Spider-Man and Talia looked at him as if he was an idiot, making them feel like one. Neither of them gave anything to the enemy. Batman fixed Damian's backpack on his back while he assumed Damian was in his arms. Talia, okay, don't die.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.